This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation. Welcome back. We are here for another wonderful, I don't know. Apparently words are hard, okay? Words are hard on this book podcast.
That's why we read them and don't speak them.
Exactly. But I don't do this alone. She's already said hello. Welcome one of my beautiful, wonderful best friends, Bianca.
Hello.
She's sticking with that. I'm so proud of you. If you're new here, Bianca made a promise. I think it was episode like 2 or 3, something like that, where she's like, she came in like that, and I was like, oh, I missed out fire today, and she said she promised that she would do that, like for going on out.
It's gonna be my legacy.
Her legacy. I'm just gonna put it on your gravestone. Hello.
That's kind of creepy.
It is, but have you ever actually seen those TikToks where it's like people doing the "if my best friend goes before me" and they're like hovering over their grave, like having like spilling the tea and like drinking with them and stuff?
Oh, I better get all the tea still when I'm dead. I want to know everything. I'm so nosy. I've got a group chat with my friends Kelly, Brittany, and Hope, and let me tell you, their work drama. I don't know any of these people. Well, I take it back. I know some of them, like in passing. But the tea that they tell me, I'm just like, those people are dumb.
So I'm not like you, where I really hate drama, like in our personal life, like in my personal life. We've had some drama in our personal lives that you and I discuss and share. And I hate it, right? But when other people spill the tea on other people's drama, I kind of enjoy it.
And it could be like secondhand drama. They could be telling me about something else that something else did. And I'm just like, wow, like it's riveting.
I know. I don't know why. Especially like on TikTok now, there's the spill the tea, which I ended up there accidentally because I am an actual tea girly. And I ended up on spill the tea TikTok on complete accident, but I don't hate it.
Oh, my favorite TikTok drama right now is Cake Gate. Please tell me you know Cake Gate.
No, you're going to have to explain it all real quick.
There is a baker who made this cake for a customer, and the customer came and picked it up and took it home. And I guess she didn't look at the cake like when she picked it up or anything. She just took it home. But when she got it home, it was like a disaster. It looked nothing like anything that she had wanted. It literally looked like a kindergartner had made it, and she paid $80 for it.
I've had this happen once.
The customer like messaged her and was like, this is not acceptable. I want a refund, like all within reason, because it was absolutely terrible. And then the baker goes on TikTok and makes like one of those customer complaining videos that small businesses make, which most of the time are funny.
Some of them they are. Sometimes they're seriously funny.
But then the customer posted the screenshots of the messages that she had with the baker, and it just tore up her business, rightfully so. And it turns out that this baker had actually been stealing Google images for
to say
professional cakes and say that she made them.
Oh. Wow.
If you have a chance, look up Cakegate and just go down the rabbit hole.
I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. I think I've gone down a few TikTok rabbit holes because of you. And I've not been disappointed.
Cakegate, I don't even know if Kat listens, but I'm going to shout out Kat. She messaged me on TikTok this, and I was like, Kat, what is this? She was like, oh, you're not on Cakegate TikTok? I was like, no. And then I got like a whole group chat going about it now.
That's okay. I messaged Sabrina one the other night because about this guy. Did you know that Water Talk was a thing?
Yeah, I'm on Water Talk.
Okay. Everybody on Water Talk but me. And I'm like, there was a guy making fun of some of the girls doing Water Talk. And he was like, POV, you're on Water Talk for the first time. And I sent it to Sabrina and I was like, this is hysterical. I was like, but wait, there's a Water Talk? And she's like, yes, girl, I'm on Water Talk. And I'm like, what? Hold Time out.
Which that's funny because in our other group chat, Sabrina has literally stated she will just drink water out of the hose and be perfectly fine.
Same.
We're like, we can just give her a puddle. She'll be okay.
Although I got introduced to this thing called the Berkey water filter system a few years ago.
That
don't get me
sounds
wrong.
super fancy.
It is fancy. They are expensive. Don't come at me. I know they're expensive, but it's like this giant, there's different sizes of it. The one we have is huge. In full transparency, we got this thing for free. So.
Oh, that's always a plus.
Yeah. But the system is like $400 to $500, depending on the size. I think there's one that you can get for like $300. And I guess if you're a person that buys a lot of like Brita pitcher filters or buys a lot of bottled water, you would easily spend $300 really quickly. But anyway, this thing is huge, and it's got these giant black carbon filters that last like, they tell you depending on how much you use it, anywhere from like 5 to 10 years. It can go all the way to 10 years. So I guess it's worth it. But now that I have that, I'm the one that used to be like, tap water's fine. And now I'm like, did you get that from the tap or the Berkey?
Well, is it like a pitcher like Brita, or is it like a system you install in the sink or something?
It's neither one of those things. It is literally a giant stainless steel 2-barrel container thing. I'll take a picture and send it to you. And the top part has the filters and the system that it drips to the bottom. So you feel the top container almost like a silo system, kind of, maybe.
It sounds like you're making moonshine.
Well, okay, the container's kind of, so the top part has got the carbon filters in it, and you pour all the water in there, and then gravity, it drips through the filters, and it goes down to the bottom, and then it's got a spigot on the bottom, and that's where your water comes from. You probably could use this thing to make moonshine, but it's just water.
That's what they all say.
The best thing in the world. But yeah, in full transparency, if people go looking them up being like, oh, Miranda said I need the Berkey system. I'm saying everyone needs a Berkey system, but I'm trying to tell you it is expensive. But I have heard people have found them at like Goodwill and stuff on like randomly.
Yeah.
I had a friend that got one at Goodwill for like $20, and I was like, you did what?
That's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, I did not know that existed. But what I did know existed on TikTok, I'm a huge fan of, is following autistic creators that are actually autistic. I think I've said this here before, but my son is autistic. He's on the spectrum. Depends on, different people will word it different ways. So I apologize if the way that I word it and he chooses for it to be worded is not the way that you prefer if you are autistic. Don't come at me. I apologize, but everybody likes it worded a little bit differently. But I prefer to follow creators in the sense of learning more about autism, because even though he's almost 17, I'm learning more every single day. And a lot has changed even since his original diagnosis. So Bianca and I actually this month, in like appreciation of Autism Acceptance Month, wanted to share with you some information on autism that we have gotten from an actual autistic person. I do have ADHD, but I have never claimed to be autistic. I am on the spectrum. You can be both. My son has both. He has ADHD and autistic. But in like wanting to support him more and learn more about adults with autism, I follow a couple of different creators that I wanted to share with you guys so that you could learn more about various different things, from stimming, from sensory issues, like how they prefer people call them, essentially. Like some people prefer first person, where you say he is autistic, or some people prefer he has autism. You know, there's different ways that you can word it, and everybody prefers something a little bit different.
So I've heard it both ways. I've heard it say people with autism or autistic people, and like it's how they identify.
It is.
And I guess it's very personal for each person.
It is. Kaden likes to say that he has autism, or he'll tell you I am autistic. But but that's his preference and what he's comfortable with. Also, when he was diagnosed, what he was diagnosed with was a term that we do not use any longer. It is actually no longer in the medical book. It's been obliterated for obvious reasons, if you guys are familiar with the term. When he was initially diagnosed, he was diagnosed with Asperger's, and we don't say that anymore. There's a lot of Nazi ties that come with that word. So we don't use that term anymore. They just say that you're on the autism spectrum or that you have autism spectrum disorder. There are a few people that do still use that term, and some of the autistic community is not okay with that. And I can understand why, but I feel like each person's diagnosis is their own. And while the name of something may be rooted in something horrible, if that's what they're comfortable with, as long as they understand that the term is not a good one, but if that's how they're comfortable with explaining it, I guess it's not for me to tell them no, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm not autistic, so to say that. But there's some creators that I really love that I thought I would share with you. My favorite is Sound of the Forest. She is so sweet. She has a huge love for insects, and she talks a lot about sensory issues, foods, because you and I have talked about this. Like, Kaden has very, very specific foods, and it's different for all autistic people what their favorite is, because some of the things that she absolutely loves, Kaden thinks is just the most disgusting thing in the world. Kind of like comfort foods that we watched Elise Myers talk about. Like, it can be in the neurotypical world, but it's also huge in the neurodivergent world to have like comfort foods or fixation foods. That's what Elise was talking about. Fixation foods. But for them, it's more than a fixation. It is life, literally. Another one that is a recent find, it's A_different_spectrum. He has a couple other diagnoses as well, but I think as an adult, he explains tics, stimming, things like that very well. And then a autistic adult, a female as well, is Spoons and Brains. And she talks a lot about how much harder it is for females to get a diagnosis and why some people might go the self-diagnosis route, which is also very controversial right now. But I could understand why people have to go that way. Unfortunately, boys, and if you have the financial means, are two things that increase your chances of getting a correct diagnosis or not, which is unfair. But she explains a lot about like why you would possibly take the self-diagnosis route, or why you would do everything you could with your doctors, but then not be able to get the official like 20-page, like, yeah, they are autistic stuff. And I highly recommend if you want to know more. Another thing, which you can actually see a snippet of on Spoons and Brains, is the BBC did I guess like we call them limited series, like where it's only like a really long episode or a couple episodes. It's like purposely only a few, called Inside Our Autistic Mind. And the gentleman that does the series is actually autistic himself. So he explains from like his viewpoint, and then he speaks to various different people that are, I guess, experts in different things. I sent that one to Bianca to kind of watch before we did this.
Yeah, it was very informative. I liked it.
There were a few things that even I learned. Like I said, I know that Kaden diagnosis was very young. He was like 2, 3 when we started the process. But still, I'm learning like every day.
Which can I ask what, like what made Kaden like stand out, and that you thought, okay, we might need to seek special help or treatment or a specialist for this? Like, what started that process?
Well, in full transparency, I did not see it. Kaden actually, when he was very young, starting like just a few months old, kept having ear infections. And I was taking him to a couple of different pediatricians in the area we lived in at the time. And I kept telling them, I think he's having an ear infection, something wrong. And I even had a doctor like pat me on the knee and say, oh, honey, there's nothing wrong with him. You're young, you'll get it, which is horrible thing to say to a new mother. Like, take people seriously, please.
Yeah.
So it turns out he was having really, really horrible ear infections, and he had a lot of scarring. So Kaden was what they considered nonverbal. And nonverbal doesn't necessarily mean that you don't speak at all. It means that your benchmarker for your age is however many words, and he had like an eighth of that. Or he had a language that like we understood, but like you would have looked at me and been like, what'd he say?
Yeah.
So Kaden was considered nonverbal, and I took him in again when we moved to Alabama. We'd been there for about a year. I tried a new doctor who was my saving grace. She will forever be my angel, who I initially got mad at. I took Kaden into her for the first visit, and she took one look in his right ear and just stopped and looked at me and said, "How many ear infections has this baby had?" And I kind of like broke down crying because someone was finally listening. So she got him started, immediately sent him to an ENT to check his hearing and his ears. And she said, but I want to see him back after the ENT sees him. And it was at our second visit, about a month after meeting her for the first time. And he was playing in the floor while she was talking to me about the visit. And I noticed she was like watching him as he played and asked me for things. And she looked at me and said, I think we should talk about autism. And honestly, because I grew up not knowing much about it, and I know this is going to kill any people that are autistic listening to this, I didn't know a whole lot about autism. I actually don't think that I even knew anyone with, or I didn't think I did, because people weren't diagnosed easily when I was younger. So I didn't know that I did, but I did.
So I don't think people from like even my generation, it wasn't properly diagnosed. It was pushed off as something else, or it was just, oh, they're just a kid. They're just doing kid things.
Right. Or they just have behavior problems, or they just are this, or they're just that, or they just need to be outside more. You just need to spank them, which I'm not a fan of spanking. But anyway, like it was.
We won't go on that tangent.
No, we won't go on that tangent. But like it's always something like that. And so when she first said it, I got very upset, and I grabbed Kaden and I actually left our appointment. And a couple of days later, she didn't say anything to me when I walked out and left. She didn't chase after me. The lady didn't try to stop me and say, "Oh, but copay." Like they left me alone. And I came back a few days later and asked if she was in the office and asked to see her. And I apologized to her and I said, "I'm very sorry, but when you said that, like you terrified me. Like I didn't understand what you were saying, and I just thought you were saying something was wrong with him, and I couldn't handle that." I was like completely distraught, and I was like, I've had a moment to like calm down, and I extremely apologize for that. I was very I shouldn't have done that, out of character. And she's like, "Would you be willing to talk about this more?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would." Her son is also autistic. So she was coming at it from a pediatrician with the knowledge of autism, but also a parent. And when she said that to us, she started us kind of like on the pathway. And she knew another pediatrician in Dothan, Dr. Ashley. I'm sure you've heard his name a bunch, being in the area. He's one of like the big pediatricians there. He, again, is kind of like a specialist. He now has an office where he only sees children on the spectrum. And his son is also autistic. And she said, "I would love to continue to be your doctor, but I would really like you to go see Dr. Ashley." And we did. And that kind of, he did like a questionnaire with Kaden. He checked Kaden over, just the normal like pediatrician check. And that kind of kickstarted it. And he kept in contact with her and the ENT. And I think, honestly, because he was nonverbal because of the ear infections and because he was a boy, like I hate that for the young women that struggle to get a diagnosis. But I think those two things are really what helped us find out so early, because most people don't find out that early. And for the longest time, the psychologist actually refused to officially diagnose him because she kept saying, "Oh, he's really young, he'll grow out of it. He's really young, he'll grow out of it." And she said that all the way up to like 6. And all of the things she kept saying he would grow out of, he didn't. He's almost 17, and I would like to let her know that he still hasn't. So it was just a phase. He'll grow out of it. Nope.
Well, to be fair, I think that is a reasonable thing, is to allot a certain amount of time just to see if kids develop and change.
Right. And I do completely understand that, because some it's just social anxieties or whatever. So I understand certain psychologists not being willing to diagnose until a certain age. But when they're like, well, yeah, I think they are, but they're this age, it kind of also is a bad thing for the child, because like it sounds
because then you're not getting a proper diagnosis, and you don't know how to handle certain situations or how to move forward in a certain direction. Like, I get that.
Absolutely. Because honestly, without the diagnosis, it was very hard. Alabama has a special preschool program that to be accepted, you have to have some sort of diagnosis. And it's not always autistic children. His class was a fantastic class of 12 little boys that ranged from, there were a couple of young men with Down syndrome. There were a few other autistic young men that I am still friends with their mothers to this day. The boys keep in contact to this day. And but to be in there, you had to have a diagnosis. They would not accept you. It was free. It was half day. You only went like 3 days a week. But the speech therapist would come to them there, and the speech pathologist would come to them there and work with them in groups and individually. And they would just play games and like basically learn how to socialize, but also they would go inside the gen ed classrooms and allow the gen ed kids to like also see that everybody's different, I guess. Like, yeah, it's kind of a hard thing for people to be like, oh, well, that we shouldn't have to learn how to socialize. They should have to learn how to socialize with us. And I agree on both parts, though. That class was fantastic for Kaden. There was no like pushing of things. They had days where they would try new foods. And if the kid wouldn't try it, they wouldn't force them, but they'd be like, we're all going to try this today. And they'd teach them how to use scissors or play with Play-Doh, or they'd kind of learn what each of them's stems were. If they did audible stems or movement or whatever that might be. And not every autistic person has a stem, but a lot do. Yeah. Caden's is a variation of movement and like mouth noises and sounds. You've heard him, like when we do Marcos together. He'll just come out and be like, and I love it. Like, I don't know what a quiet house is. Like, I wouldn't know what to do with myself, like, honestly. But that's how he was diagnosed. And it is different for everyone. And some people don't get that lucky and have it that easy. We actually also had really good insurance, which some people also aren't afforded. So there's that. Kaden has actually been able to be in a couple of different studies along the way. Ones where basically they're done from afar. They send like packets and packets of questionnaires, like for the teacher, me, for Jerry, or we'd like ask Kaden questions and have to record them and then send them back to whatever said university so that they could learn more. So it's been kind of interesting in that way too. And then, as I said, Caden's original diagnosis, which was in the I always say it wrong. It's like DCSM-5, which is the book. Like if you get any medical diagnosis, right? It's like in that book.
Oh, it's not the 5 anymore. We're up to the 7.
The 7, yeah. But like, I think in the 7, they no longer say the word Asperger's. Like we don't say that anymore. So like, it's not even a diagnosis. And what was funny is originally when they diagnosed him, I was told, well, he's Asperger's, but he's not autistic. And for the longest time, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it doesn't, because it's not true. Some people also think it's harmful to do labels, but there are benefits to sometimes doing labels. The downside to doing them, though, is some people look at certain diagnoses, which is also a benefit to just now saying autism spectrum disorder, is that a lot of people used to say, oh, well, you're high functioning or low functioning. And that came back to kind of like bite Kaden in elementary school, because he was classified at the time as, I'm using like air quotes, like people can see me, but they were like, he's high functioning. He doesn't need this anymore. So like at one point we had to seek speech therapy like on our own. The school system would not provide it for him anymore. And that's not a knock at the school system. I understand they have a lot of kids that they're trying to take care of, but it used to be like, oh, you're high functioning, you don't need special needs. Like, you don't need help.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. Like, and then
let me amend my statement from earlier. It's a long thing now. It is DSM-5-TR. I don't know what the TR stands for.
I don't know what the TR is either.
I just looked it up.
Thank you. I knew it was something. But yeah, that's like the official book of all diagnoses in the world.
Yeah.
That's where they add. Like,
it's from the American Psychiatric Association.
There you go. So it's no longer in there. And if you find an older one, yeah, it will be in there, but it's technically not anymore. So we just say, he just says, I'm autistic. I have autism.
Yeah.
Which is what he's comfortable with. So, and I don't mind people asking me questions. There's been a few times you're like, do you care if I ask? And you and I are close. So obviously I don't care. I have had people randomly in public be like, can I ask blah, blah, blah? And then, like, the other day, the one little girl was like, oh, I apologize. That's probably crossing a boundary. And I was like, I didn't want to be like, yeah. But I was like, no, it's okay. I appreciate that you recognize that might be a little forward, but I don't mind answering your question.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Kaden said, there's a time and a place. Like, for as far as people asking him questions about his autism, he's like, there's a time and a place.
Well, and in case y'all haven't noticed, we were kind of have a theme today. Mm-hmm. We are recognizing Autism Acceptance Month. And before we get too deep into our book, I do want to mention some Adaptation Minute stuff real quick.
Yeah. You've been keeping up with this. I'm real proud of you. There's like a lot of adaptation stuff going on. And I'm just over here like in the clouds. What?
Well, I'm trying to, because most times if I see an adaptation coming, I know I want to read the book first. Yeah. So I've been trying my hardest to cover those books that I know I want to see the adaptations of.
Right.
One of them, another Taylor Jenkins Reid novel, has been optioned. Carrie Soto is back. All I saw was that it had been optioned. We don't know if it's going to be.
Is that the book, Carrie Soto?
It's Carrie Soto is back.
Oh, that's right. Duh. Sorry.
It's actually a spinoff of her other novel, Malibu Rising, which I have read. It was not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. It was still a good read. But Carrie Soto is a kind of like side character in that book, and this one just kind of tells her story.
Remind me, is Malibu Rising like mystery, or am I thinking of something totally different?
No, it's a family drama.
Ah, okay.
It takes place in California in the 80s.
I remember
Malibu's in California, if y'all didn't know that.
I remember when it came out, it was everywhere. I think even like book talk, I don't remember when it came out, but I remember it was like all over Goodreads, all over Facebook. Yeah. And I have seen TikToks about it as well. I have not read it.
If I remember correctly, at the time Malibu Rising came out, it was when Taylor was like rising in fame due to Seven Husbands and Daisy Jones.
That's right.
So yeah. Malibu Rising was like from the hit novel author person of Evelyn Hugo comes Malibu Rising.
Which you did read Evelyn Hugo as well, and it's one that I keep meaning to get to. I've heard amazing things about that one as well.
It is so good. So good.
That one
I got Sabrina to read it, and she was literally crying buckets of tears. I was like, yes.
Don't do this to me. Is that one also being optioned? Did I read that somewhere?
Yes, it's going to be a movie. I wish it was going to be a series, just because I think having an episode per husband would just be chef's kiss. But it's going to be a movie. I can't remember if it's going to be Netflix or Amazon.
Okay.
But speaking of Taylor Jenkins Reid, I did finish Daisy Jones and the Six.
I just have to know. Well, you're not a crier, so this question may just be no, Miranda. You know the answer. But a lot of people that have finished the series said that the final episode like wrecked them and they were bawling.
Sabrina was crying on my couch uncontrollably. I just passed her the tissue box. I was like,
So
here you go.
Yeah. So in full, like, just so everybody knows, Bianca is actually one of the kindest hearted people. And if she loves you and cares about you, she would give you the shirt off her back. But she's not a crier.
I don't cry. If I'm crying, I am mad. And that probably means you should run.
Or you're crying because you're laughing so hard at someone crying.
That too. Miranda speaks from experience with that one.
Yep. Oh, Hope is crying too. Come on.
Hope always cries.
But not as much as me. But yeah. So anyway, so I'm not being mean when I say things about Bianca like, oh, you don't cry. Like, she only cries when she's really, really mad. So it's not me being like rude. She actually is like a very kind-hearted person. So
I just don't cry. I'm sorry, everyone. I will say that last episode, like the last 15 minutes of the last episode, it will get you. Like, it hit me in the feels. I'm not going to
like your chest hurt. You're like, oh.
Yeah. And like, I knew how it was going to end because it stays true to the book. I will say that was a really good adaptation. But yeah, I was even knowing how it ended, I was still not prepared to like see it on screen. I was like, oh no. But I give it like an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
There were some parts that were just a little bit slow, but to be fair, those parts come from the book were slow parts as well. And
so there was really no way unless you changed it.
Yeah. And the only thing that they really changed that I remember from reading in the books is Karen, she plays the keys in the band. Mm-hmm. They made her British in the show, which the actress is British, Suki Whitehouse. She is not British in the book. I don't know why they made that change. And it's not really a big deal. It's just like, oh, she has an accent. Okay, cool.
I wonder if it's one of those, like, you know, some British actors can actually sound American, and maybe she's one that she's like, look, I can't do this. This is who I am. Like,
maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure why that stylist choice was chosen. It is on Amazon Prime if anyone wants to check it out. The wardrobe is amazing. I want every single piece that Daisy wore and that Camilla wore. I loved their outfits.
I've heard people say that. Like, I've seen a few TikToks where people are like showing the outfits and they're like, ooh, yeah.
It's so good. The next adaptation I'm excited for is Lessons in Chemistry. Mm-hmm. I just read the book this week. I should have grabbed it. It was the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year last year. And I put it off. I got it on sale for like half off because it was the book of the year. It was on sale, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'll grab it while I'm here. It was so good. I read it in like 3 days. And it was a pretty chunky book. It was like 413 pages, I think. Mm-hmm. It was so good. It's coming to Apple TV. It's going to star Brie Larson, which I'm not a huge fan of her.
Same.
Her voice kind of grates on my nerves, but I can see her doing the main character very well. So I'm here for it. You will cry if you read this book, Miranda. I'm letting you know 100%.
It's been on my list because it was actually supposed to be the USO Book Club read a few months ago. And I was like, oh, I'll get to it. And I can't. I can't do all these book clubs. I can't do them.
You're going to cry at least 3 parts.
Well, I don't know. So here's the weird thing. You know how much I cry.
Yeah.
I don't cry in books. There's actually only ever been like a small handful of books, whether I've been listening to them on Audible or reading them myself, that I have actually cried. I don't know why. I don't know what I like words on paper why I don't, but I don't. Okay. Now, if I watch the movie, absolutely. Like, we finished season 2 of Picard tonight, and I cried during a couple of parts. It was sad. If you've seen it, season 2 towards the end, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
So Lessons in Chemistry, it takes place in the late 50s, early 60s. It's about a woman who is a chemist. Basically, she has sexism in the workplace. She has to deal with it. It doesn't really work out, and she kind of starts her own cooking show using chemistry.
Which cooking kind of is chemistry?
It is, and that was her reasoning for doing it. That's the long and short of the book. I know that kind of sounds boring, I know, but trust me, people, go read it. It was really, really good. My final adaptation minute I'll mention this time because I promised Hooey. I am so sorry. My brain just stopped working on who I promised.
It happens.
She commented on my Goodreads and was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to hear your thoughts." And now I feel really bad. Hold on. I'm pulling up my Goodreads.
Hey, Goodreads lady.
She's one of our listeners. She's one of our followers, and I feel really bad right now. Yes, Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
I am so sorry, Ellen. But I promised you an update. So, where'd you go, Bernadette? The book I did not enjoy. I am so sorry. I think I gave it 3 out of 5. It had a good plot. It was told in the way that the other 2 books you and I read, it was told through emails.
Oh, like that one that honestly, like, I keep putting it down because I need a break from it because it is like very dry, basically.
Yes. This is told through emails and like personal notes and stuff. It's about a woman named Bernadette. She's missing. They don't know where she is. And her daughter is trying to figure out the mystery. I wouldn't really call it a mystery, though. I would say it's more of a drama/comedy because it had funny parts. Mm-hmm. I didn't enjoy the way it was told through those emails. There were some people's emails that I just could not have cared less about. I was just like, why am I reading
Were they like red herrings? Like you really didn't need that email?
Yes. It was just side information. I'm just like, oh, can we get on with the story, please? However, the movie is available to watch for free on Tubi. There's a couple of commercials, but I was like, it's free. I'm going to watch it. I loved the movie. The movie was fantastic.
Really?
Yes. I would watch that movie.
You said that before
like
about
3 more times.
Something else. There's a book we did that you covered. You didn't cover the whole thing, but you mentioned it. I want to say like in episode 2 or 3 where you're like, I wasn't thrilled about this, but then I loved the movie. And then there was another one that you were like, they screwed this up. You were so mad. It's like Love and Gelato. Wasn't
Love
it?
and Gelato was the one they screwed up.
You were so mad about how they screwed it up.
That was terrible. But I fully recommend the movie Where'd You Go, Bernadette? It is a great time. It was so funny, so well done. I loved it.
And you said it's on Tubi?
It is on Tubi, Tubi.
Which, by the way, is a completely free app, guys. Like,
oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tubi, if I remember correctly, is totally free.
Oh, okay. So I just had like, I think 3 commercial breaks, and the commercials were only like 30 seconds. It wasn't like 5 or 10 minutes or anything. So it was worth it.
Nice. I can handle a commercial break, especially if it's free.
Yeah.
Like, I know people get really irritated and pay for like, no commercials, but come on now.
Well, Miranda, I believe that for Autism Acceptance Month, I believe you did an interview with Kaden.
I did. I asked him if he wanted to be, for me to like record him, or if like he wanted to be on here with me and you so that you could also ask him some questions. And he was like, no, thank you. Maybe another time. So I also didn't want people to be like, oh, she's putting words in her kid's mouth. I actually wrote down what he said. Some of the things I may have to paraphrase because he was like jumping from like, Kaden is me. If you've been listening to us, I'm a squirrel. So he will go from like one topic to the next and then back to that topic. He's mine. It's okay. But I did because it was one of the things like, this was actually your idea. I want to give you complete credit. You were like, what if we, for April, did this? And I thought it was fantastic. And I won't lie, I teared up a little because.
You're welcome.
Well, I did. Like, it just felt really, I don't know. Like, you accept my child, which you always have. But you know what I'm saying? Like, when your friends accept your child, especially when they might have something that the world might see them as different, it's just very, like, touching. I won't cry right now.
Please don't cry.
I won't. And then I also want to say thank you.
I cannot reach through the microphone and pat you on the back or anything.
You do hug me and you do pat me on the back. You just don't cry with me. And you go, oh, Miranda. Now, there was one day I was crying because I was like really upset. And you were like, you were genuinely like, I am so sorry. Like, so. But I also really want to say thank you because when you talk about it with me or when you mention it, you actually say autism acceptance and not awareness. We hate that. We hate the whole like awareness. Like, what do you need to be aware of?
Exactly. All of this awareness stuff, like there's working at a university, like you do different like book displays and stuff. And there's always an awareness month. And I'm like, people are aware of this. What does awareness do?
Well, and Kaden even asked, as part of his interview, I'll go ahead and tell you, that's one of the things we talked about. And he goes, why are you guys talking about autism? And I was like, hey, it's April. And he's like, oh, the month when companies pretend, and I, like, this is a quote, the month when companies pretend to care. It's good marketing, but not really fair, right?
I mean, like, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He's like, hey, it's good marketing. He's like, but. And then he also doesn't like the awareness thing. And he's like, why do you have to be aware of me? He's like, I just want you to accept me. And even then, I don't know if I care what you think about me. He has something that I wish I had that is he doesn't care what people think. Unless there's someone he cares about. Or sometimes with like, when he was in middle school, peers. He didn't understand why people were bullies. He's like, if you don't like someone, just walk away. Like, why do you have to be a bully? So I wish I had that. I don't have that trait. I overthink how people think about me all the time. Like, if someone is mad at me, I will think about that for the next 15 years. I will. And he's like, whatever.
It just rolls off his back.
Yeah, in some ways. Now, if I were mad at him, or like if you were even mad at him, he would like fixate on it and be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What can I do? I'm so sorry.
So I guess it's different for people that like he knows and cares about versus a complete stranger.
Oh, absolutely. But strangers, he's like, I don't care. Which made me ask him, like, how do you feel when people look at you and say, but you don't look autistic? And he actually said to a person once, well, you don't look dumb.
Tell him I'm going to steal that.
Right. But tonight when I asked him, like, he actually did say that to someone in public once, and I did not even get onto him or have a rebuttal or be like, you shouldn't say that, because he's kind of right, you know? Again, he also, unfortunately, says things as he sees it. Like, he has kind of, in some ways, no filter, because he's not being rude or mean. He's just like when he's really little, there was a guy he was an amputee, and he had like one of those robot-looking legs. That's not what it is, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it was like he paid a lot of money. Like, he had good money to have the cool one. And Kaden, just as loud as he could be. Now, mind you, we've gone through speech therapy a couple of years at this point, so we finally have like full sentences. And he goes, "Mama, him got robot leg." And the guy just giggled, and I was like, I am so sorry. And he was like, it's okay. And he goes, he's like, yeah, buddy, I got a robot leg. And the guy was really cool about it, but not everybody would be. But that's the kind of Kaden is. Like, we've tried to teach him, like, whisper.
Yeah.
But I asked him, like, how do you feel about when people look at you and say, well, you don't look autistic? And he said, well, it's kind of like when someone's parked in a handicap spot and they have a handicap sticker, but people look at them and say, you're not handicapped. Yeah. He's like, it's invisible. He's like, I don't think I'm disabled like they might be. He goes, but some people's disability is that you can't see it. He goes, that's not for people to say that, like, something has to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I did ask him what are some things that he wished people knew about people with autism. And he said he really hates when people assume that he is Sheldon Cooper.
Okay.
Like, very smart, like good doctor,
Yeah.
Sheldon Cooper, something like that. He said he also hates when people just assume he's dumb. He's had both ends before where people are like, oh, you must be so smart. You're probably going to be like this astrophysicist. And then people will go, how are you today? And he's like, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, so he doesn't like that people just assume that, oh, when you say, oh, my son's autistic, that people assume like either he's like incapable of doing anything or he's just so smart. And he's like, no. He said that is very irritating.
Yeah.
He said it also makes him really mad when people just assume or stereotype, which kind of goes with the first one. People assume that he's into certain things. He's like kind of like when you look at a normal just dude and you just assume they're into sports, or you assume that you know things about them by looking at them. And he goes, I guess that would apply to like humans in general. He said, but it seems like it's really big when you tell someone you're autistic. They automatically assume like, oh, you must like trains, or you must be really good at math. Or he's like, there's just all kinds of things that people assume. He's like, actually, I hate math. Trains are kind of cool, but like, you know. So and these are some of the things I asked him. I have never flat out asked him how he thought about things.
Yeah.
He also said he really hates when people hype things up and make him think like it won't bother him in some sort of sensory way. Like, oh, you're going to love it. I promise you it's not loud here. I promise you it's not bright. He's like, he really hates that when people like really hype something up. He gets really irritated with that for like personally. He said, that's just me personally. He gets really, really irritated with that. And he said to go along with that is when he tells you like it's too bright in here or it's too loud. Like he says you should believe autistic people, because he said he's heard people have done it to him and he's heard it done to other people where they'll be like, it's too bright in here. And people are like, no, it's not. It's fine. If you're fine, you're fine. And he's like, no, we're not. Like that, like kind of like the clip I sent you where he talks about everybody's each autistic has like a different sensory thing that really bothers them.
Yeah.
And some of them can have a lot of things that bother them. Kaden, light bothers him.
Well, sound bothers him too, doesn't he?
It does. He wears headphones a lot of the time. Most of the time he's listening to something in his headphones. I know some autistics that just wear noise canceling. They're not listening to anything at all. But he's usually listening to like YouTube or an audiobook or something. It allows him to kind of like close other things out, which is, I think, for him really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he also said, please don't assume every autistic is the same. And I didn't think about that, how people do just assume they are. Kind of like I was talking about earlier. And I'm sure
I think that's where the idea of like spectrum comes in.
Yeah, it is. It's more like a wave with some pie charts instead of like a line. Everybody just assumed like you're either here or here.
Yeah.
And that's what some of the people on TikTok that I mentioned explain much better than I ever could. But it's like a whole like there's a whole umbrella of things that fall into autism, and it's like they all have different tics and stems. They might have a lot of traits that are similar. A lot of them all have a special interest, and a lot of them might have similar special interests, but that doesn't mean that they all have that. Kind of like the trains assumption with autistic boys for some reason. He does have very specific things. Textures bother him. Smells bother him. Sometimes like he'll come in here and tell me like, oh, that candle stinks. I don't like that. So like I won't buy that one anymore. Or I'll light it in a room that like I really like it, but I'll have it like somewhere else so that it doesn't bother him. We've tried just about everything you can think of as far as like, oh, let's do sunglasses. Let's do what are the ones where they change? Do you know what I'm talking about? The glasses.
Like the transitions?
Yeah. We've tried those. We try like pretty much everything when it comes to like making him as comfortable as possible when it comes to sensory issues. But the sensory also affects his eating as well. As far as like, there's a lot of textures that he just cannot and will not.
Yeah, I remember you saying he ate a specific, like he could only eat like cheese pizza with no sauce or something.
It's actually pepperoni pizza with no cheese.
Oh, okay.
Cannot do the cheese. He used to do cheese, and I don't remember at what point it happened. Excuse me. I don't remember at what point it happened, but I do remember vaguely he got a pizza that it, like, you know, when you pull it and it just keeps gooing and going and doing that stringy thing. Some people love that. Well, that happened, and for whatever reason, that sent him over the edge. And so the next time he was like, I don't want cheese on my pizza. And we were like, what? And he's like, I don't want cheese on my pizza, but I love pizza. And we were like, oh, okay. So we started ordering it where it's just the sauce and pepperoni, and he absolutely loves it. And then a few years later, we found out certain dairy products actually bother him anyway. So I think it was his body going, ugh, no, like in advance. But yeah, he doesn't really handle cheese very well. What's funny is the other day he actually told me, no, I love cheese. I don't love how it makes me feel. And I was like, in your stomach, like you don't like when you eat it. And he's like, no, it's just And I'm like, okay. So a lot of times, I think I've told you this before, I'll ask him like, why don't you like it? And he's like, it's just. Yeah. His answer is, it's just. Yeah. Which is really funny because when I was growing up, my dad used to say, it gets in my mouth. And until I had Kaden, I always used to like giggle at my dad when he was like, I don't like such and such. It gets in my mouth. Now I know what he means. Because Caden's like, no, it like coats your whole mouth and it's in there and it won't go away.
Is that like it lingers?
Yeah. Like it's like, he says. I'm like, okay. So I understand my dad a little bit more now. Then one of the things I mentioned, he said earlier, is asking him about his autism. There's a time and a place. And he said it's also how you present yourself to him if he would like to ask a question and who you are. Because he said sometimes people are being rude. The problem is he doesn't always realize that someone's being rude. And then it takes him a few minutes and he goes, wait, they're being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like he does sometimes have a hard time comprehending when someone is being rude. He accidentally also will do things where I will remind him, you have to sometimes, and we've talked about this before on here in regards to something else, like watching how you say something. Like you're not trying to be rude or disrespectful or any of those things, but how you word a thing or at what tone you take to say a thing. And sometimes he takes this monotone voice where we have to tell him, hey, just remember not to be rude. And he's like, but I'm not being rude. I'm not trying to be rude. And we set him down and talk to him and we're like, we're not trying to tell you to change, but sometimes you have to take note of the situation because someone in the world might perceive you as rude and we don't want them to. Like, yeah. And I hate that I have to do that to him because I shouldn't have to. But there have been times where I have heard autistic adults or other adults say about other autistic adults, like, oh, they're just really rude. And I'm like, no, they're autistic. They're not trying to be rude to you. They're being themselves. So.
Well, and has the social cues, has that gotten better as he's gotten older, or is it just something that he just continually works on?
He does continually work on it, but as you know, it takes him a while to warm up to people as well. So I think he's getting much better with social cues when it's somebody he's around continuously, because then it's like he can notice what, their tone is when they act a certain way or something. But if you've never met him before, he might not entirely get it. For example, when we take the train a lot, there's been several times that there's some young girls around his age and they're like looking at him and giggling and stuff. And he's completely oblivious, has no clue. Then we've also run into the situation a few times where there's been like a group of young men and I can tell they're actually making fun of him. He has no clue. So in some ways I think it's good because I don't like that he's being made fun of. It's horrible, but he didn't know. Doesn't make it
Yeah.
better. It doesn't make it okay. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
he does still struggle with social cues. And sounds really strange, but I also think so many years of being in public school, he learned how to mask.
Yeah, he just learned how to blend in with things.
Yeah, he learned how to blend in. That it's not that he necessarily understands some social cues, but it's like where we've explained things to him and he's like, oh, okay, so I get it now. So there are some that he totally gets. And he'll tell me like, oh no, that person they're being rude. They're being mean. Like, I get it. But sometimes he does still struggle with them.
Yeah.
I took a few other notes from him, but he wanted to know if there were any questions you had that I could possibly answer with his notes.
I think I preemptively asked the ones I was thinking of.
Oh, that's fine. I did tell him, though, because we are a book podcast, I would like him to give some book recommendations. I also asked him, like, in general, like, his favorite foods, his favorite most of these I knew about him, but I wanted to, like, same with us. Sometimes it changes in the moment, like foods and music and things like that.
Yeah.
So he said, in going with not every autistic is the same and not every special interest is the same. He said some of his special interests are reading, video games, of course. And he said he really likes animals. He likes pandas and penguins a lot. Specifically, he loves dogs. We have 2 dogs. One is not certified, but kind of sort of his like therapy dog. Like he knows when Kaden is about to have like a meltdown, which is not the same as a tantrum. Like he knows when Kaden is like having high anxiety, and he will actually like go to him and like put his head in his lap or like lay on him. He's never been like trained. We've never had him like certified, but it's like we got the dog when Kaden was 10 and the dog was only 3 months old, and he immediately just bonded to Kaden the minute that he got in the car. So I think he's just learned, like alongside growing up together, he's just kind of learned.
Yeah.
So he loves dogs. He has a love-hate relationship with being outside. He said he does not like sports, and he's really not a fan of being super active, but I will say he'll get on that Oculus and box for like 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
He loves laying like in the hammock outside. He said that everyone needs to know that Fallout New Vegas has a great story and wonderful characters. He said he hates Titanfall 2, government, and mashed potatoes.
What's he got beef with mashed potatoes for?
It's a texture thing. He has straight up beef. And this sounds horrible of me, but I'll go ahead and say it. Before we knew everything completely, we were trying to get him to eat foods, and we were like, just eat, buddy, just eat. I now have a whole nother viewpoint on children eating and getting them to eat or not eat than I grew up with. And I'm so glad. We don't force eat anything. We do offer, do you want to try this? We don't ever make him try anything, but mashed potatoes was a food that we tried to make him eat when he was little, and we didn't know that he had texture issues, and it may have gone real bad. He may have gotten sick all over me. He doesn't even like the look of them when I'm making them in the pot. He's like, ugh. He also can't stand the look of yogurt or sour cream at all. He says he doesn't know why, but he just can't.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. But that cracked me up. He's like, I hate Titanfall 2, the government, and mashed potatoes. And I was like, okay.
He has a list and he's sticking to it.
He does. He said Fritos are pretty good. He learned. I'm like, cool. Pizza with no cheese is his favorite, pepperoni specifically. He loves Twix. He discovered a new Twix recently that I've only ever found here in Germany and only around Christmas time, called Speculoos, which is a type of like German Christmas cookie. I think they're in other countries as well, but it's a European thing. I was quite surprised that he liked them, but he loves them. He says he really likes water. He drinks a lot of water. He said, but soda. I said, what kind? He goes, soda. I love them all. Okay. And he does. He actually asked for a soda stream a couple of years ago for his birthday, which his adoptive uncles bought for him. His general music likes, he said he really honestly likes a little bit of everything. He's always willing to listen to anybody's music recommendations within reason. But his favorites are Panic at the Disco, Imagine Dragons, and Tenacious D. Don't ask. I don't know.
Hey, I love Imagine Dragons, so
I do too.
That's on there.
His favorite movies are Nacho Libre and Gremlins.
Okay.
Yep. He said his favorite book ever is a book called Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis.
That's a good one.
He said everyone should read this book. It's his absolute favorite. But then he said books to read. These are all graphic novel. I think one classifies as a manga. The other two are graphic novels. The first one is the manga. It's called Delicious in the Dungeon by, I'm probably going to totally butcher this name, so I'll send it to you on our chat. It's like Ryoko Kui.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Sorry, sir or ma'am. I've actually never looked them up, so I don't know if it's a sir or a ma'am. But he loves these books, and they actually are really cute. He said the Dark Souls graphic novels are fantastic. And then he has another graphic novel that he likes called Adventure Zone. And if you are a D&D player or you just love that kind of like fantasy Roll20 playing kind of thing, you'll absolutely love these graphic novels. And he said to anyone that says that he's unsocialized because he's in homeschool, please don't worry about him. That he has lots of friends and he keeps the relationships with people that matter. I was like, okay.
Keeping it real.
He is. And as much as he's on the with the real life friends that he has, I mean, I'm not worried about his friendship. He has a very close knit set of friends, like that he's known for a very long time. There's about 10 of them total. He kind of meshed two groups together that he has, and they all hang out now on Xbox, of course, because we're in Germany. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I feel like I covered everything. I paraphrased most of what he said, unless I said this is a quote. I think the biggest takeaway for everyone, not even just from him, is like, believe someone that's autistic when they tell you they're autistic. They're not being rude. Please understand that, yes, you will probably see more men diagnosed as autistic than women, because unfortunately it's very hard for women to be diagnosed with autism. It's also very hard for women to be diagnosed with ADHD because they usually mask very well.
Yeah.
So when they go through evaluations, a lot of things are hidden. Don't believe everything from companies that you hear. I won't go into the spiel, but if you're on social media, you've already heard my spiel about Autism Speaks. We don't support them in this household, and also don't believe everything that you read from them. Time and a place, if you have questions about it. I'm an open book for the most part. If you respectfully come to me and ask a question, I usually don't mind answering it. And then sometimes I will say, I think I've even said this to you, like, let me ask him, because I don't think I'm a speaker for people with autism because I'm not autistic, but I can share what he said, because I'm also, I'll tell you, personally, one of the things I hate in this world is #autism moms.
Yeah.
Oh!
That's almost as bad as Boss Babe.
Oh, please kill me. And a lot of them are both. Like, don't get me wrong. Our son is rough. Yes, but they're rough because I can't help him. Like, there's nothing I can do to make it better. It's not rough for me in the sense of, like, I live this, oh, woe is me. No, woe is him. Like, I feel bad for him. I don't know how to help him, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
When I feel like doing hashtags like that as well, that just seems more like, oh, look at me. I need clout. I need validation in my life. It's not really helping anything.
No, it doesn't.
There's one that he and I used to use together. Like he was like, no, do that. Because it's when we were trying to follow other like autistic people. There was one that was actually like Spectrum Mom, and we use it because a lot of times the people that used it were people on the spectrum, and I want to learn from them. Like, I want to be a better parent to him by learning from them.
Yeah.
So, and there's some things that we were told when he was really little that could be true, could not be true, by doctors. But what I think people need to understand is people with autism are thriving. They have great jobs. They have families. Some of them don't. It's kind of up to them. They're, in that sense, they're normal. Because we got a lot of, like, neurotypical people that don't want a family or don't want a relationship or anything like that. So I think it's just kind of the same. There's a lot that could be said about both groups, neurodivergent and neurotypical. But I think we need to remember that a lot of times it just comes down to, like, people are humans, just treated them like a person.
Yeah.
So that's like a snippet of Kaden. And again, I did ask him if he would want to be recorded. And I was like, you want to think about it? And he was trying to be sweet to me. He's like, yeah, I'll think about it. And the way he said it, I was like, you don't want to do it at all. You're just saying that to appease me, aren't you? And he's like, well, yeah, kind of. He's like, but you always tell me to think about it first.
But, yeah. Well, this also kind of leads into our book discussion this month. We're both going to discuss Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan.
Which you found, actually.
I did find it.
You did. Yeah, you did.
It is a children's novel. As you know, I'm not a huge children's book connoisseur.
Middle grade. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But this one was surprisingly delightful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
Star rating you gave it?
Let me check because I forget.
Remember?
I gave
sorry,
it 4.
It's right here in front of me. I'm so sorry.
I gave it 4.
Me too.
But it also deals with a child. Her name is Willow. The book never explicitly says the word autism or autistic. It uses the phrase highly gifted a lot, though. And I was trying to figure out why the author chose to go that way. Because the book is told from Willow's perspective. Mm-hmm. So part of me was thinking maybe they were using the term highly gifted for Willow, so it was a way for her to understand she was different without using the word autism, because that might not be a word she was aware of.
I think for a couple of reasons, and this is just me speculating, I feel like maybe one, the author is not autistic. And so I wonder if she felt like, because she isn't, or at least nothing in her biography said she was. Now, that's not to say she's not, and she just doesn't tell people, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't find anywhere that said that she is. So my thought was either, one, that she felt like she couldn't come out and say that because she's not herself, which this was written in 2013, so maybe. My other thought, which will spoil just a little, do you want to give a quick rundown of the book without spoiling it? That way people want to go get the book and then come back and listen to us. They can do that.
Yeah. I will say I was not aware of the plot of this book. And I think this might be an important point for other parents who might let their young children read it. Not only does it deal with autism, but it also deals with parental loss and grief.
It's pretty deep.
It's how the book opens. In the first chapter, both of her parents pass away from a very tragic car accident. So I don't feel like that spoils too much.
No, it doesn't. I think it tells you that in the in one of the synopsises I read.
Okay.
That's non-spoiler. I believe it says that. Oh yeah, So it says Willow Chance is a 12-year-old genius obsessed with nature and diagnosing medical conditions who finds it comforting to count by sevens. It has never been easy for her to connect with anyone other than her adoptive parents, but that hasn't kept her from leading a quietly happy life until now. Suddenly, Willow's world is tragically changed when her parents both die in a car crash, leaving her alone in a baffling world. The triumph of this book is that it is not a tragedy. This extraordinarily odd but extraordinarily endearing girl manages to push through her grief. Her journey to find a fascinating, diverse, and fully believable surrogate family is a joy and a revelation to read. So it's also found family. Like, it is grief, it is death, it is definitely autism, but it is also found family. So that's good.
Yes. And I would also like to mention one of the characters. His name is Dell. He is the school counselor that she starts seeing. I think he also has autism.
Absolutely. Or he's somewhere on the he's somewhere. He's got OCD, ADHD, something.
Because
something in the neurodivergent realm.
Every person that he sees and counsels, he has like a list and categorizes each person into like a specific type of thing.
Yes.
And he is constantly tweaking it. But then, like, for him to be that organized on paper and in his work, his personal life is in shambles. His apartment is disgusting. I was reading it and I was like, this is like an episode of Hoarders coming to life.
But it had like nothing real substantial in it either.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like anything, like it was like a crappy bed and like he didn't even have a kitchen table and
he had like a whole closet of underwear.
Yeah. And he had like books, like, I don't mean, and I know we say we have books everywhere, but it made it sound like he had like everywhere.
And so it made it sound like they were just strewn about. They weren't like well cared for, taken care of. It just, the way it was visualized was a very Hoarder situation to me.
I would agree. So I think there are characters in this book that also are like every character in this book is dealing with something, and I think all of them would have some sort of, not necessarily autistic or neurodivergent diagnosis, but it's like the one of them clearly needed a shrink. Like she'd gone through some rough stuff in her life to make some of the decisions that she does.
Yeah.
The kind of surrogate mother. Like, why would you do that? Like, we'll get into that in a minute. But now so that's the basic synopsis. You gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars. It was nominated for the best middle grade in children's book of 2013. 380 pages. I mean, overall, I think it was a fantastic book. And honestly, when Bianca sent me, like, hey, I found these couple of books. Would you be interested in reading any of these? What caught my attention was a few people's reviews of this book. And I felt like suddenly defensive, and I hadn't even read this book. I just knew it was middle grade about an autistic young woman that's like, that her parents die. Like, that's all I knew. And I read some of these, like, things, and I got defensive. So honestly, that's why I told Bianca, we're reading this one.
So I got a very stern text, and it was like, we're reading this one. I was like, okay.
So, like, that's the basic synopsis of, like, everything. We hope you would like to read it. So if you haven't read it yet and you want to go do that before you listen to us, come back and do that. What I will say, though, is Bianca has done a really cool thing. And going forward, you will be able to know what book, if we're going to read a book that we're going to discuss in detail, you'll know in advance. We have created a Goodreads group for you to join. And this one was listed, but we're fairly new with this, so we don't have a whole lot of people in the group. But if you would like to join, please join. It's just Bells with Books podcast, right, Bianca?
Yes.
Okay. So, like, going forward, we'll put whatever books that we're going to read and discuss in length in there as, like, group books that we're going to read. And as we get further into this, I'll add little, like, sections for you guys to, like, send in your thoughts of the book or things like that, so that we can shout them out here, read them here as well. And maybe you can, like, read along with us. So we're going to spoil now. Which leads me to my second reason why I thought maybe the author never listed the word autism or spectrum or any of that. And I think it has to do with her interaction with that school counselor the entire time. Because she talks about, like, she'd never been to any professional like that. She'd never, because he even says something along the lines when it's like him talking, how did they not find her? How has she never been evaluated? I wish I'd written down like the exact sentence or like where it was so I could read it to you. But do you remember what I'm talking about? Where he basically says like, how did they not know this about her? Because the whole reason she gets sent to him.
She's accused of cheating.
Yeah, because she's really smart, which there are a lot of autistic people that are abnormally smart. But it even says like her parents were very smart people. Her adoptive parents were extremely smart people. They like encouraged her to do these deep dives, if I remember. Like they encouraged her love of reading. They encouraged her to look up whatever she wanted to.
Yeah.
So she was very smart. She got accused of cheating, so she gets sent to him for behavioral analysis, which irks me for so many reasons.
Well, and this is before her parent. Like when I say the book opens up with her parents' death, this book is not told linearly. There's a few chapters of like in present day, and then it goes back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bit of a time jump here and there, but the first chapter happens in quote present day, and then she just kind of recounts everything that had happened up to that point. Willow is the main narrative point of view, but we do get points of view from Dell. He is the Dell, like the computer.
Mm-hmm.
He is the school counselor. We get a couple of chapters from his point of view. We get a couple of chapters from another girl that she meets along the way. And I believe from the brother's point of not her brother, the other girl's brother's point of I can't talk. Perspective.
There you go.
I was trying to say point of view and perspective at the same time.
You made a whole new word.
I did. But for the most part, it's all told from Willow's point of view. So like I said, chapter 1 opens. She's kind of having an average normal day until she gets to her parents' house and there's a policeman waiting there. And she says, and I quote, "I clearly hear 4 words. There's been an accident." And then another thing I liked about this book is that it emphasizes the way that Willow thinks.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately after that, you have no, 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 no. And it's going down the page, and each no gets more bold and bigger and more like kind of like a pyramid type thing.
And I listened to the Audible version, and I thought the narrator did a great job with it because it's like you can hear her actually saying it. She gets a little bit like sterner and a little bit louder with each no.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
And I thought that was really, really good to convey. Like that's how Willow was probably really saying it. Kind of like if you're trying to tell kids something, they're like, no, 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 no. Like louder and longer and rapid with it. Like is just what I was picturing.
Yeah.
Kind of how she says it too, which I thought was really interesting.
So it opens with the car accident, and then she says, "I need to rewind. I want to go back. Will anyone go with me?" And then we actually get like her story.
Mm-hmm. Which I could honestly, like, I really liked when they did that. I want to rewind because it's like, I can't think about this right now. I can't comprehend this. I can't do this. I'm going to a place where I'm comfortable.
Yes. And one of the very first things that she opens with is it possible to be loved too much? My 2 parents really, truly love me. Like, she adored her parents. Mm-hmm. She knew that she had some of the best ones ever. And
I will say when she said that, because again, I don't cry, my chest got tight. I was like, God. Because you know what's happened already. Like, you know where this is going.
Yeah.
She's an orphan. Because I think they even said it this already. They're like, she doesn't they were her only family. They really didn't even have family. Like, they only hung out with very small group of people. Like, they were close knit. Just the three of them is what mattered. Like,
Yeah.
that was it.
That's why in this, all in chapter 2, it goes into how her parents had tried to have children biologically. And she uses very big words.
Mm-hmm.
I checked this book out from the library and I had to renew it because I wanted to keep it for the podcast. Because I just wanted to point out some of the things that she says. It says, but twice she couldn't keep the fetus, parentheses, how onomatopoetic is that word? Fetus. Insane, in parentheses. Like, what, was she 12? What 12-year-old says onomatopoetic?
I honestly was like, I know this word, but I gotta look it up. I don't think I remember what it is. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, what kind of SAT word is that? And that was, honestly, since you brought that up, that was a couple of the people that wrote like 2-star, 1 and 2-star reviews were like, no one speaks this way. No one knows words like this. And I'm like, actually, depending on what your special interest is as a person with autism, neurodivergent, whatever, like, you would be 12 and speak giant words like that.
Yep.
So I was like, I took beef with some of these people straight up.
Well, another thing about Willow is that she doesn't have just one thing she fixates on. She has multiple things that I think she keeps with her. Like, she counts by 7s constantly. That's one of the things that, like, calms her down.
Mm-hmm.
She thoroughly researches anything before she starts it.
Mm-hmm.
She's obsessed with the color red. Red is her favorite color because it's important in the plant world. She is very into plants and getting outside and digging in the dirt. She loves to garden, and red is just like a sign of life to her.
So she has like a couple of colors that, like, he'll tell you, no, that's my color. That's like, this is why. Like, he'll give you an in-depth reason on like why those colors.
Yes. Well, and I think Willow also has problems with social cues. She tends to look at everything very analytically, and she doesn't really take in how a person may be feeling in the moment.
Yeah. Kaden is very literal, where she's very analytical about things. He's very literal. So there were some things that I saw that I was like, okay. And now I see why people listed this as a book that has an autistic character. Like, makes sense to me.
Yeah. And she's also very into medical diagnoses. Like, she can basically look at a person and diagnose them without even talking to them.
Doesn't she diagnose Dell in her head?
Yes, several times.
Yes. I think eventually she out loud tells him, you must have blah, 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 blah. But like, in her head, she's like diagnosing Dell, and it cracked me up.
This book was I don't know if the author meant it to be this way, but it was very funny.
It was.
And it was sometimes inappropriate funny. Like, I'm like thinking I should not be laughing at this part, but I am, because it's how Willow thinks.
Oh, no, I laughed because I was like, this is genuinely how she is. Like, she's not trying to be funny, but it's like this cold delivery that you're like it just, when kids call out adults, like, and they're not trying to be rude or disrespectful little buttheads, like, they're just like being themselves. Yeah. I find that funny. And that's what Willow was to me.
Well, and in this rewind, we find out that she is starting a new school. So she's kind of worried about making new friends and trying to fit in with everybody.
I don't remember why she started the new school, though. Do you? Or is it kind of, I don't remember if it was relevant or not, or why it happened.
No, I don't remember that part.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
But like, trying to hype her up, her parents were like, oh, what are you planning on wearing for your first day of school? And she's being very practical in her approach to this. And she wants to wear her gardening outfit for the first day because she thinks it will convey how she is as a person, that she's very into gardening.
I thought
But
this was so adorable and so heartbreaking at the same
it
time.
was so heartbreaking because her parents are just like cringing and trying to discourage her because they know she's going to get made fun
Yeah.
of because her gardening outfit is something like an adult would wear, not a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, so I was picturing in my head, like I think they describe it like perfectly, but we've talked about this before where sometimes even when you read and the author describes it in detail, you still see it another way. So I was picturing like almost like khaki like cargo pants with like this little like vest that has tons of pockets and like one of those like bucket hats like we used to wear in the 90s, but like brown so that she could like keep the sun off her face. That's what I pictured. With like a t-shirt obviously underneath her vest. With like a plain like green or black t-shirt is kind of what I had in my head.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly because I remember at one point, here it is. I always wore a khaki shirt and a red hat for sun protection. I had tan pants with built-in knee pads and lace-up leather work boots. This outfit was designed for practical reasons.
Yep.
And that was her gardening outfit.
Which to her, it makes sense. She's being practical. She's got like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think like to kind of encourage her, her mom had given her a magazine. I think it was Teen Vogue, just like kind of left it on her bed as a suggestion of maybe you should look at what everyone else is wearing. And she's just like, no. I am firm in who I am.
Ways, like I totally love that about her because she's like, why should I like dress like other people? Why do I have to dress like other people? Like, why can't I just wear what makes me happy? Which Kaden says to me all the time. He's like, why do I got to worry about what other people think I should be wearing? He's like, I just want to be comfortable and like happy. And I'm like, okay. Which I get it. I just want to be comfortable too. Like,
yes. So she's starting middle school. So yeah, she's about 12 years old. I don't think they ever say her age, but she's starting middle school.
Which is usually, depending on where you live, 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah. And she has a couple of like initial interactions with some people like in the hall, and it's just kind of off-putting. She realizes it's very loud. It's very overwhelming. She doesn't really know like what's going on or anything. She hasn't learned the dynamic of the school.
It's almost, to me, when they describe it, it's like she went into sensory overload like the minute she walked in the door.
Yeah. Like she walked in and she was like all confident, and then it just like came all at her at once. And they give her they give everyone a standardized test, but she finishes it in like record time, and it was a perfect score. And no one really believed that she was able to do that. So they sent her to the principal's office to accuse her of cheating. Which when she was summoned to the principal's office, I wrote this down. She was trying to like convey that she wasn't worried about anything. Like she knew she wasn't in trouble. She turned around to the class and said, quote, "The human corpse flower has blossomed."
I forgot she said that.
And she just went on about her day. I was like, Willow, no.
Which is what I think is so endearing about her. And another reason why I got so irritated at all these people with their reviews, because there were like some of these people were calling her like Mary Sue. And I was just like, did no one get like anything? Did no one understand Willow at all? Like, I know we don't all look like the same books, right? But I was like, seriously, did no one understand Willow?
No, they didn't. Even when the principal sat her down and was like, "You cheated," she's like, "No, I didn't." And he's like going on this thing about like he's just kind of rambling, and she's sitting there thinking in her head, I'm going to quote this: "Your left elbow displays the 5th form of psoriasis, an arthrodynamic condition characterized by intense redness in large patches. A course of 2.5% cortisone cream application combined with regulated exposure to sunlight, without sunburn, of course, would be my recommendation for relief." But I didn't say that. She's just in her own world, just analyzing everything. But that's when she's sent to the counselor, Del Duke, and that's where I say the story really begins, because Mr. Del Duke is a character, y'all.
Yes.
I love this man so much because he tries his hardest.
Well, he's also oblivious to things too. That's what's so funny. He's like, what? What?
He lives in his own little world. He does not deviate much from his schedule either. He has a set schedule and he keeps to it. Yeah, he somehow ended, like, we're on chapter 5 if you're following along. It kind of goes into his backstory and how he ended up as a school counselor. It was not his first choice of career paths, but now he's a school counselor and he has a system, and pretty much every child he sees can fit into 4 different groups of, quote, the strange. They have misfits, oddballs, lone wolves, and weirdos.
Which honestly, I like Del's character a lot, but I hated those classifications.
Well, I not only hated the classifications, it was the way he described them. So, like, he said the weirdos included the zombies, those kids who stared straight ahead and gave back nothing, no matter how hard someone tried to pry emotion out of them.
And I was like, that sucks. Like, I knew kids like that. I knew kids like that because they were on medication, because they were, like, now they know it, but then they didn't. They were ADHD or neurodivergent or whatever. And you're like, what?
Well, and not only that, but he color-coded them. So misfits were yellow, oddballs were purple, lone wolves were green, and weirdos were red. And he
oddball weirdo. It's okay.
So he had, like, this whole system of how he tried to help people. But when Willow came to him, Willow did not fit any of these.
Let's be honest, though. Was Del really trying to help people before she came along and flipped his whole world upside down?
No.
Well, okay.
I don't think what you can classify Del doing as help.
I think he thought he was helping.
Yes.
But he wasn't helping anybody. Not even himself.
Well, and he also realized that Willow wasn't acting like the other kids that were sent to him. Mm-hmm. They played a little word game at one point, and it was kind of a call and response. He was like I'm going to say, I'm going to say one thing. You say the first thing that pops in your head. So he said space, time, dark, matter, big, bang, car, topography. I can't say it. It's supposed to be cartography. Yeah.
Oh, cartography. Okay.
Yeah. Mouse, wireless, white, corpuscle.
Well, doesn't she even say at one point, she's like, oh, I get his game. And she didn't get his game. But, like, she's like, I get his game. I understand where he's going at. So he says this. And then I say that. And then, like, from Del's point of view, he's like, oh, she was doing this. Blah, 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 blah. Like, neither one of them are understanding the game that the other one are playing. They're actually playing 2 different games.
Well, and at one point during all of this, it, like, pushes Del to the edge, and he just shouts, you animal! And she just sits there kind of stunned and then goes, lemur.
God, I love that.
But then Del is like, wait a second, and he responds, female lemurs are in charge of the troop. So he thinks he's made a breakthrough with that one.
Oh, that one cracked me up. He's like, aha, I have her figured out. And I was like...
No, you don't, dude.
No, you don't.
I'm trying to skip ahead a little bit.
Because Del has some parts like that do drag a little, like that are they're needed, but
yeah. There's a whole chapter of Del trying to classify Willow,
and he just can't.
Well, he comes up with a new group, and it's called Genius. Because she just doesn't fit anything else.
And he kind of feels like he's hit the... I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like as we're learning... He's learning about her and we're, like, reading all of this. I feel like he's kind of like, jackpot. Like,
yeah.
He's like
he's sitting at the desk twiddling his fingers like, yes.
Finally. Because I don't know about you guys, but like when I was in school, the counselors loved them some geniuses.
Yes. Well, if I remember correctly, her parents didn't know she was seeing him.
Yeah, so initially before the accident happens, because they ask her, like, how was your day? And she's like, good. And then she makes some comment where they're like, oh, did you meet someone? And they're like, yeah. She's like, yeah. And they're like trying to play it like coy and shy because they're trying to ask, like, is it a boy, blah, blah, blah. And so she even says, like, you hear like what she's telling herself in her head, something along the lines of like, she doesn't want to like let them know, like she doesn't want to tell them. So she's like, yeah, I just met him recently. We bonded over blah, blah, blah. Like, she's not lying, but they're not asking her direct questions either, right? She's still telling the truth. And I have noticed that my brother was this way and Kaden is this way. If you ask them direct questions, he cannot lie to you. He will absolutely tell you. But if you just ask a question vaguely like they are, like, did you meet someone? Yeah. Oh, is it a boy? Like, but I never flat out said, what did you do today? Walk me through your day. Tell me who you talked to. Like,
yeah.
So she's lying to them, but she's not at the same time. Hey, we've all done it. We've all been 12 and like not lied, but lied.
Yeah. So Willow's seeing Dell, and one day she shows up to Dell's office and he is still meeting with someone else. So she like kind of interrupts, but not really. It's Mai and Kwang Ha. I think that is how you pronounce the name.
I listened to the audio. Dang it. I should have written down like pronunciation. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming it's Mai, Nguyen Tai Mai, and then Nguyen Kwang Ha. Kwang Ha was the child that he was seeing, and Mai is his older sister. She walks in on Kwang Ha doing a coloring sheet, and he just refuses to leave until he's finished the coloring sheet. And Willow kind of bonds with Mai. They just kind of become pseudo friends, I guess you could say.
Well, in Willow's mind, that's her new friend. Like, they've bonded, they get along, that's her friend.
Yeah.
And probably because she doesn't, sadly, her only friends are her parents. And kind of sort of Dell at this point.
Well, Dell walks back in and he's basically like, what are y'all still doing here? It's past your appointment. We're supposed to be done. And like kind of throwing a fit. And then Mai stands up for her brother and was like, we'll leave when he's done. Like kind of being the bossy older sister. And that's when Willow was like, yeah, that's my woman. It turns out Dell had brought in a cat. I'm still not sure why he brought in a cat. I was kind of confused on that part.
It had something to do with the conversation between she and her in a previous meeting. I forget exactly what transpired, but they were talking about animals and something about a cat. And I think he had a picture of a cat, or he said something like, I have a cat. So she's like, let me see, or something like that. Like she called him out.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact details. I apologize, but it's all due to a previous conversation they had. And that's one of the reasons he was so irritated that Mai and her brother were still there, because like, I told you I needed your session to be done, because he wanted to surprise Willow with this cat, which honestly, I was thinking to myself when he came in with it, like, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. I know you had a conversation about a cat, but this correlation of being so excited to show her this cat was like, okay. Like, it was a little, I think, again, they're playing a different game here.
Well, he brought in the cat, and he never fully closed his office door. So when he opens the cat cage, the cat just kind of like looks around and then darts out the door, and they all just sit there like, well, now what? And they eventually all get up and start looking for the cat. They decide to make some flyers for the cat and hang them around. And Willow just kind of continues to bond with this group of misfits, I'm going to call them.
Mhm.
And she finally feels like she's being accepted without really trying that hard. And then after their sessions, Dell agrees to drop the kids off at their respective houses. And he just kind of lays awake at night thinking about his interactions with Willow.
Which is a little odd because, and they do bring this up, right? A couple of times talking about, sorry, my chair is squeaky. They do bring this up a couple of times where they talk about, like, it normally wouldn't be permitted, like, just having kids ride home, like a counselor taking the children home. And then I think, doesn't he even have, like, he drops her off first because he doesn't want to be alone in the car with her?
Yes.
Because he's like, this is really unprofessional. I shouldn't be doing this. But, like, I guess at this point, because they had gone after the cat, they probably missed the buses, all of those things. So, like, they've got to get home somehow.
Yeah.
But they even bring up, like, that he shouldn't be just driving them around off campus, like, by himself. This is unethical, like, weird, like, but how else were these children going to get home? So in some ways it shows you he actually does care, because he's like, I can't just leave these kids stranded at the school. Like, I can't do that. And I think maybe at one point they were like, no, we can't call our parents. They're not home, or my mom's too busy or something. But I did like that they brought up the fact that, like, because
this was not a normal situation.
Yeah, it's not a normal situation. And I appreciated that, because this book is geared toward middle schoolers. And I did find out tonight before we started recording, there's actually also a workbook that you can purchase that goes with this book as well, for classroom learning, homeschooling, whatever. And I like that they bring attention to, even though it's your school counselor, you shouldn't just get in the car with them. Like, it's not normal. And that the teacher was even like, oh, I don't need to be alone with the individual child by themselves. Like, let me take these two home first, and then. So I did like that the author presented that, so that children don't just read a book and go, oh, my counselor can take me home or can take me off campus anytime they want to.
Yeah.
No.
Do not get into cars with strangers, boys and girls.
Sometimes you shouldn't even get in the car with people you know.
Yeah, that's true too. Don't get into a car unless your parents are in the car.
Or they specifically tell you, so-and-so is coming to get you. Which, funny, quick side story, that's what we're here for. I did this when I was in kindergarten. Unfortunately, my dad lost a friend on the line of duty, and my parents went to his funeral. And my mom said, today after school, you are going home with David. I did not know David's mom. I had never met David's mom. I had only met David's dad. And I'm a kindergartner, so I wasn't thinking David's dad would also be at the funeral because he's also a police officer. Didn't cross my mind. No clue, right? So car pulls up in the car rider line. Here comes David. We're going to have so much fun, blah, 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 blah. He's holding my hand, trying to pull me in the car. I look up, and there's this woman I have never met in my life, and he's trying to pull me into the car. And apparently I refused, like tantrum style, refused to get in this woman's car. To where the teachers were like, we can't make her. And I was like, I don't know her. And I was like losing it. Apparently David was like, it's my mom. And I was like, I don't know her. So the teachers were like, we cannot make her get in the car. Like, she's clearly distraught. Like, she's screaming. She doesn't know this person. And the poor lady was like, oh my God, so embarrassed, because she was like, I'm not trying to steal her. There's a note in her lunch. Like, my parents had sent a note, like, she's to go home with David, blah, blah, blah. Like, so that my teacher was like, I cannot make her go. So they take me to the office and, like, let me sit there. And they're, like, trying to call my parents. Obviously, there were no cell phones, guys. This is like 1990. I'm like, they finally like, oh crap, her parents went to the funeral. They had to call the funeral home and tell my mom and dad that I was refusing to leave with this woman. My mom leaves the funeral and leaves my dad there and comes, and she's so mad. She's pissed. She gets in that school and she looks at me and she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I didn't. And I'm like bawling, right? Because I can tell every adult is mad at me. And again, like, I love Alice, right? But if I ever went to Wonderland and everybody was like, we're all mad here, I'd be like, at me? I overthink everything. So I was like, why are you mad at me? And she's like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I didn't know her. She's like, it's David's mom, but I don't know her, and I know I'm not supposed to get in the car with people I don't know. And all the adults were like, oh my God. So then I didn't get in trouble. My parents were furious, though. They were like, why would you do this to us? And I was like, you've always told me not to get in the car with someone I didn't know, and I didn't know her. And they were like, oh, shit, we can't be mad. So yeah, like if your parents tell you to get in the car with them, then you should probably do it.
Well, if it's any consolation, Willow does not have that problem because
Willow's like, let's get in the car. We go on the ride.
She takes a taxi
by herself.
All by herself. I forget why she was getting in the taxi. I didn't take a note of that.
She wanted to go somewhere different. Is it when she wanted to go to the library and do research or something?
No, that was later. I'm trying to spin.
But she decides that she needs to go somewhere, and she doesn't want to ask to go to this place.
Yeah, so she calls a cab company. And she asked them some questions, like
my God, yes,
very odd questions.
I want your business license. It was like, are you insured? Like what? Like I don't know if you have it pulled up. Do you have the questions that she asks?
I'm in that chapter, but I don't. Okay. So I don't see those. Oh, okay. Yeah. I would like the number of your taxi license and to see proof of your compliance with brake and headlight adjustment requirements.
I love this girl. I love her so much because I've gotten into some questionable taxis before where I was like, I should have been asking for way more than that.
The driver's name was Jairo Hernandez, and he had been driving from Mexicano Taxi for 7 years. Mm-hmm. He starts to talk in his native tongue of Spanish, but he doesn't realize that Willow also knows Spanish.
She knows like 6 languages or something. It's brought up a couple of times. She's learned like 6 languages. And you know what? That is impressive because Bianca and I, you got an impressive streak. But you and I are both trying to learn a second language that's not our native English. And it's hard, isn't it? Like
I'm doing both Spanish and German. I swap it out. So that gets kind of confusing sometimes.
See, and I'm Slovak and German. On top of my English?
No,
people, we don't mean fluently. But it is hard.
Okay, so this first taxi ride was so she could go see her new friend, Mai. Because she wants to surprise Mai because she has been studying Vietnamese because Mai is Vietnamese. And so
I thought it was adorable that she was like, I want to connect to my new friend. She speaks a different language. Well, not Mai does speak English, like when they've met and stuff. But at home, I think, and then her native tongue is Vietnamese. And I thought that was sweet.
But evidently she had spent, I think she said 3 days learning 85 Vietnamese phrases.
Excuse me, ma'am, what? I have spent 2 years. 2 years.
So yeah, she learned Vietnamese just so she could talk to Mai in her native tongue.
Which in some ways I thought was kind of picking up on social cues in a slight way. You could disagree or agree. I thought it was a cue in the way of I'm trying to make it's probably more masking, really. She wants to make that person comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and another thing she did was when she first got out of the taxi, she turned to Jairo and looked him straight in the eye and said, never let someone tell you that you can't do it.
And I forget why she says that to him specifically, but it actually ends up becoming extremely important that she said that to him.
Yes, because the next throughout the book, we get this taxi driver's point of view a couple of times. The next chapter is from Jairo's point of view. And she had just said that to him, and he took it as a sign. He swiftly went down to the local community college and started signing up for classes.
Because he'd been debating doing it, but he needed like a nudge, basically. And he said that young girl was like his push. Because she'd never met him before, and here she hops in his cab with these, like, I guess you could use the word precocious questions.
Yeah.
And, like, she's just, like, here, don't care what anybody thinks, taking care of herself, and, like, is very kind to him as well. I think, did she even tip him very well? Or she says, or she explains to him, like, I can't pay, but blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It was very, like, intelligent, like, the way she handled the paying for this taxi and tipping him. And he's very impressed by that. So that one phrase actually brings about a really sweet friendship.
Yes. Like, from that point on, you'll see it throughout the book. Gyro will basically do anything for this girl. He is head over heels, like, worshiping her.
Mm-hmm. He did change his life.
Yes. Willow kind of admits that Mai is her best friend now and kind of her only friend.
Yeah.
And then she takes the taxi a couple more times, and in those instances, she tells Gyro to have a mole looked at because she thinks it's very suspicious. The next chapter, we go back in time a little bit. It's Roberta and Jimmy, Willow's parents. Mm-hmm. And I think this is them. Yes. Roberta had been going to the doctor's office and the hospitals because she had been sick, and they officially had gotten a diagnosis. She had cancer.
That's the whole reason they were out in the vehicle by themselves while she was away at school.
Yes.
Which is, again, like, oh my God.
So they had just gotten the news she had cancer. They were trying to figure out how they were going to move forward. Were they going to tell Willow right away or just wait type of things? Like, they were just having really hard conversations. Mm-hmm. At the intersection of the hospital is where they were
even, like, holding hands or something, which is like,
yes,
just take the knife and twist it harder. Like,
yes. At the intersection in front of the hospital, they were pulling out and they got T-boned. Jimmy died on the scene. And then Roberta was taken to the hospital, but died 3 hours later.
Had time to tell Willow.
Yes. The other driver was left in a coma. So all of this is happening. Willow's just kind of out living her life. I think at this point, they had all gone out for ice cream. It was Willow, Kwang Ha, Mai, and Dell.
Because somehow they all got left there again. Well, I think this time he kind of allowed Mai and her brother to hang out a little later into the session. Like, he realized, like, okay, they're going to stay. Like, it is what it is. She's made friends, like, and they do, again, and he even says, like, oh my God, I shouldn't have taken them for ice cream. Like, he gets very kind of, like, defensive about it. And, like, I'm not, like, I've done something wrong way, but, like, I could get in trouble for this.
Yeah. But yeah, they had all decided to skip counseling.
Wrong. Yeah, he's doing nothing wrong. Maybe gray area. Wouldn't you say gray area?
Yeah, it's a very gray area. Because he's not doing anything bad with them. He's just kind of letting them interact in the way they want to interact.
Because I actually had teacher in school that I stayed after for clubs and stuff. And the teacher would be like, hey, you guys don't want to go to, like, Sonic? And we'd be like, yeah. And we'd all, like, find cars to get into, or he actually had, like, this big giant van because we were constantly going on trips for school that he would pile everybody into, and we'd all go to Sonic. And it was after school hours, but, like, nobody asked their parents. Like, your parents assumed you were at the school. We were actually at Sonic with our teacher. So, like, it's gray area-ish. Where it's like, nobody's actually doing anything wrong, but I could see where a teacher would be like, oh, I could get in trouble for this.
Yeah. The next chapter we pick up from the first chapter of Willow saying no, 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 no. Mai realizes what's happening. She kind of gets Willow in the house, tries to get her to like not necessarily calm down, but make sure she's okay. Like she's not going to harm herself or anything.
I think she's realized at this point that Willow is, I hate using the word different. I hate when people say that about Kaden. But I think Mai has realized that Willow is not neurotypical. Like they may not have words for it or know what the words are. Kind of like you and I were saying, like when we grew up, we didn't say autism. People didn't talk about it or have like a clear diagnosis. That was a real diagnosis then. It's just people weren't given it. So I think Mai has realized and is kind of also gotten protective of Willow very fast.
Yes. Well, and Willow realizes how affected Mai is by the news as well. And she tries to calm herself down by using her method of counting to sevens, but she can't. Like, she physically cannot count by sevens right now. The police are taking her into protective custody. They ask if there's next of kin, and there's not. She has like a grandmother, but she has like severe Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
She's like in a home or something.
Yeah. So there's really nothing she can do except be put in the system.
Which, again, how many times is this author going to take the knife and just dig it a little deeper and twist it?
It keeps getting a little worse for a little bit. Mai convinces her mother that Willow needs to be with them. I was very touched by Mai in that aspect because this is a girl, like she's only known her for like, I think 2 weeks at this point, and it's only been through random interactions and such. But Mai's taken such a liking to her that she pleads with her mom to get temporary custody.
Like they show up, Mai's mother owns a nail salon, and they basically like, I think at this point it's starting to be told from Mai's mother's point of view, because she's like talking about how she has a thing for red, and like red is lucky, and she's picked up this blue polish because someone wanted it or something. And the minute she picks up the blue polish, she notices that like police cars pull up, and she knows something is wrong. Things are about to be bad. And she's like, she even says, I'm going to throw away this polish and never carry this color again. Like, yeah, she knows something is bad. And that was the critique from some of the bad reviews, was that they do the kind of perspective hopping and first person kind of jumping.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. How did you feel?
Oh, I liked it because I liked seeing how everyone interacted with Willow without Willow's narration. Like you got to see what was happening from someone who didn't have autism.
Right. Like how she viewed it. I can't remember Mai's mother's name right now, but it was Patty. Like how I'm sorry?
Patty,
that's right. And she even says what her, that's not her, like, born with name, and why she changed it, and why she insists people call her Patty, which I think was really cool, too, because you learn a little bit of backstory about each of these side characters that actually make up the story. But it's like she knew at that moment, and when Mai comes in and explains to her, like, just agree with what I'm saying. Like, she basically tells her, like, agree with what I'm saying to the police officers. And Patty's like, yes, she will stay with us. She must.
Yeah. Like, so Mai has to lie a little bit, and Kwang Ha takes that very hard. He doesn't like liars.
No, he doesn't. And he's even been told, like, you're not supposed to lie. So he takes it literal, like, you're lying. You're not supposed to lie. Why are you lying?
Well, and I think that's what kind of starts the bad blood between him and Willow.
Kwang Ha kind of. Yeah, I think also the living arrangements.
Well, that's true. But Kwang Ha kind of blames Willow for changing the family dynamic. Everything changed once Willow came on the scene, and he did not like change.
No.
So he was kind of bitter throughout the whole book. He was just kind of a stick in the mud.
I think in a lot of ways, in my opinion, I think it's very possible he's also on the spectrum. And I think the author, without saying it, was trying to show you that there's different versions of the spectrum. If you take him, if you take Dell, if you take Willow, and like you talked about, you thought that Dell's somewhere on the spectrum, right?
Oh,
if
he
you
has
take
to
these
be.
three characters, oh yeah, absolutely, he has to be. But if you take them, they all have different little, I don't know if idiosyncrasies, which should be the correct word, but they have different little things about them. And I think it proves what you were saying earlier when we were talking about Kaden is like, there's a whole spectrum. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. It's like you can all have the same diagnosis and look differently like these characters do, like internally when you're hearing them talk, how they feel.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And maybe that's not what she was going. Maybe the author would come out and be like, no, only Willow is autistic. But to me, I think it was showing different versions of autism in 3 different characters.
Yes. So the police and Duke is his last name.
Yeah. But I kept freaking out. Like it's one of those like 2 name things where every now and then I'd be like Duke, no Duke, no Del. Like,
well, it's also kind of a Southern thing too. Like people have double names down here.
We should come on, Miranda Catherine. I know. Yep.
We got Billy Joe, Bobby right. Jim. So Dill Duke kind of just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Well, Kaden is actually Wilbert Kaden. Sometimes my true accent comes out.
So they all show up at the nail salon because that's where Patty was. So Patty signs for custody. Mm-hmm. The police eventually leave, and then Dell's just kind of sitting there like, well, what do I do now? And Patty just kind of has to like shove him out the door a little bit.
Yeah, because he's kind of like,
he's just standing there awkwardly.
He doesn't know what to do. Like,
yeah. He's had a very exciting day.
Right. And have you ever been in a situation where like you are part of it, but you're not? So like when it's all like winding down, you're just hanging out because you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, am I supposed to leave? You're supposed to leave. Like, what is going on here? That's where Dell's at.
Yeah. Patty closes down the nail salon, gets Dell out the door, and it turns out they live in like a garage behind the salon.
It's really like it's a garage that's been turned into essentially a studio apartment. And a studio is like everything is in the open together. The bedroom, the bathroom is usually still closed off, but like everything is open. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom is all one big open thing. There's nothing. It's not for multiple people to live in together.
No.
And the 3 of them are living in this, and no one knows. That's like the big secret of the family.
And don't they all share one bed too? Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't remember if it's one bed or if it's that like he has like a futon couch, and then the mom and the daughter or sister share a bed. I think there is some division. I don't think they're like literally laying there next to each other, because he says something about now that Willow's there, he can't sleep like normal, and normal is usually just in his boxers. And he says he can't do that because 1, he's a girl, she's a girl, and 2, his boxers have like fire trucks or something on them, and he doesn't want to be made fun of.
Yeah.
So and I was like, okay. Like, again, there's more clicking that tells me that he's somewhere on the spectrum as well.
Yeah. A couple of days go by, and a caseworker eventually shows up and talks to Willow. Willow's kind of made a list of requests because she's Willow.
and because she's Willow, but also, like, she now sees home, like her home that she was in with her parents, as a negative thing. Like, she now like associates that with like the biggest heartbreak of her life, and so she's refusing to go back in the home. So she
one of her thing number 3 was, I do not wish to ever return for any reason to the house where I lived on Citrus Road. I would like you to call Haruto Ito, the owner of Ito's Garden Services, and tell him that our backyard garden is now his responsibility. He will understand. Like, she wants nothing to do with that. Mm-hmm. She does request her computer and her printer and
specific books, I think.
Yeah, there are some books she wanted. There was a couple of DVDs. Oh, and number 9, I would like a sedative prescribed to help me deal with anxiety. I may need medication at a later date for depression, but I would need to see extensive research on its long-term effects on teenagers. I would also like a complex multivitamin designed specifically for juvenile use. Number 10, I'm going to stay for now at Happy Polish Nail Salon. It is my hope that the Nguyen family will allow this and be compensated for taking care of me. I really like her last one. It says, number 11, I have 7 library books. They will need to be returned. I have never incurred a late fee. I don't want to start now. Respectfully.
I love that. And I was like, yeah, of course, I am the girl that the library wouldn't be able to continue to buy new books if it weren't for my late fees. I told the librarian in Enterprise that once, and I was like, you just know that. I was like, I am late to everything, and that includes returning my library books. But look at it this way. My 1750, just put a new book on the shelf. And she died laughing. She's like, well, you did bring me ice cream this time. I said, see, I had priorities.
The caseworker kind of just takes this list and is like, okay. And she explains that Willow will need to go to a child care center. So she's taken to the Jameson's Children's Center. Keep in mind, I think this is like the day after or the next day. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 days after her parents had died. Mm-hmm. But she's kind of overwhelmed sitting in the lobby and she faints. So they take her to the hospital.
I probably would too. Could you imagine at 12 being told that both your parents who chose to have, like, not saying that our parents didn't choose to have us. That's not what I'm saying. But, like, they, like, adopted her and their whole life was her. Like,
yes.
All she knew was their little bubble of the 3 of them. It was perfect. And now they're gone.
Like, her whole life, literally every aspect of her life has changed.
Yeah. Like, I'd probably pass out too. Absolutely.
Yes. She fainted. She sliced her head open, had to receive 9 stitches, so they took her to the hospital. Mm-hmm. However, at the hospital, she says, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And she actually sneaks out and calls Gyro, the taxi driver.
She can't handle it. She never specifically says, but I think it's a combination of, like, the smell, the lights, the everything is just too much. Too much. Yeah. She can't do it.
Gyro shows up, drives her to the library. That's where she requests to go. The library is kind of like her safe space.
Mm-hmm. She has a specific spot in the library as well. She'll tell you, like, it's on the whatever floor in this section. It's like it's her comfort zone.
Yeah.
And Gyro, I feel that.
Well, Gyro can tell something has happened. Like, he doesn't know that her parents had died or anything, but he can tell, like, something's not right. Mm-hmm. So all he says is get some rest. It is critical to recovery.
Doesn't she try to hide her, like, stitches or something too? Like, she doesn't tell him anything, and he doesn't pry.
Yeah.
He even says, like, I didn't pry or couldn't pry or shouldn't or something along those lines.
Yeah. He shut his eyes and said a prayer. Mm-hmm. I'm skipping ahead a little bit.
It's okay.
Because it's just some of his inner turmoil type stuff, which is not, like, super critical to the story.
Like, it's interesting, and you like hearing each person's inner monologue viewpoints of what's going on. But I could see where some of the reviews that were like, it drug on. I understand what they mean, but I think I agree with you. While it's not critical, I think it is important to understanding the characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it gives you deeper understanding of the characters, if that's your thing. They eventually the authorities notice that she never comes back from the bathroom, so they put on a search. They called Dell and was like, hey, have you seen her? He's like, no, I haven't. But he figures she'd be at the library, so he finds her at the library, and she's just kind of, like, curled up in a ball all by herself. It's really, really sad. And they just kind of sit there and not talk.
Which I think is really fantastic about friendships, is when you can just sit with someone and not talk. I also think it's fantastic when you can just, like, talk for hours.
Yeah.
But there's something about the person knowing you so deeply that you don't have to talk. You don't have to say anything. They know that you're distraught and that you just need a physical body near you.
Yeah. Dell calls the authorities saying, hey, I found her. I'll deliver her to I forget where he says he's going to take her, but they stop for hamburgers, and Mai is there. They pick up Mai on the way, I think.
And I think all of them's dialogue are like super excited because like this, they don't get this. This is like a treat for like all of them.
Yeah. They get hamburgers and fries and milkshakes. And I think it's just like a bright spot in a very sad story so far.
Mm-hmm.
The next chapter, they have the funeral for the parents. It goes about how you expect it would. A fund was started for Willow's education because the parents didn't have like much of a savings or anything. So they want to make sure that Willow is able to continue her education, go to college and stuff like that. And she notices that Gyro had made a contribution, and she writes him a personal thank you note. And that's the only thank you note she writes for that. He calls her. I forget how he got her number. I think it was included in that thank you note. But he calls her and like checks in.
He calls like to request a taxi. Like I think like her number, like I can't remember, but I think it says something about like when she requests a taxi or something.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I'm sorry.
One thing I did forget to mention is when Patty signed the custody papers, she and Dell agreed that they would put Dell's address down instead of hers because she knew that if child services knew the conditions she was living in that garage, they probably wouldn't have let Willow stay. So they had put Dell's address down. Mm-hmm. Well, child services calls and says, hey, we're going to come do a check-in. And so they're like, oh, crap, we got to get to Dell's apartment. And this I feel is where the story begins to me.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, yeah, you've got all of this backstory that you have to continue forward. But you're right. This is really where it actually like happens.
Which is sad because we're pretty much halfway through the book at this point, and I feel like this is when things start actually happening for Willow. Patty, Mai, Kwang Ha, and Willow all show up at Dell's apartment, and it is an absolute disaster. There's no furniture. He has like a blow-up mattress, I think.
Yeah, and this is where you were talking about like it's kind of hoardery. Like it's not okay, it's not and it is. It's very strange. So it's like quintessential bachelor, like I don't need those things, but it's also like weird hoarder dude. Because he has like a 2-bedroom.
Well, it's not clean. Like he doesn't clean. Patty spends hours like cleaning.
Empty cups and like wrappers, and there's not any bugs or anything, but she says you can just tell like it hasn't been touched or something. I think there's a phrase that she uses that's like, Patty says it to him, I think, where she's like, do you ever clean or do you ever pick up or something like that?
Yeah. Patty takes it on herself to just basically redo the whole apartment in like 3 hours.
My favorite thing is when she looks at him and says, get the keys, we're going to like Goodwill or something. Like she says, we're going here. And then she starts walking through the store like she owns the place and is like, we're buying that, we're taking this, we're getting that, we're getting this.
They basically just go out and buy new furniture. They do all of the laundry, and they agree that Dell will temporarily be relocated to another apartment down the hall because they are looking for a roommate. So they just basically make it look like Dell doesn't live there. So he signs a temporary rental agreement with the dude down the hall, moves into the spare bedroom.
I like how the dude down the hall is like, okay, cool. No questions, bro.
Yeah, no. Like, okay, whatever. Let's see. They do pass the inspection, so Willow is allowed to stay with them for a while longer until they can find her permanent placement.
I think at this point, everybody is like, wait, permanent placement? Like, that scares all of them.
Yeah. Well, because they're finally kind of getting into a slight routine with Willow, and I think they all kind of panic of like, oh, Willow's not going to be here forever.
I think the only one at this point, well, the brother's starting to warm up to her because now he actually gets his own place to sleep. Which he's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, I like this.
Willow and Mai share a bedroom, and Kwang Ha has
Yeah.
his own bed.
Doesn't she say they find like red bunk beds or something?
Yes.
And it's very specific red. And I was like, that's foreshadow. Like, she told you why red is important.
Well, and Mai's all excited because she can finally now have her own space to decorate as well.
Yeah.
She's never had her own
no
bedroom.
time. She's got like, it even says she starts pulling things out of like teen magazines, and she doesn't care who it is. She's slapping it on the wall because she just wants to be able to decorate for herself.
Yeah. Let's see. So they passed the inspection. The social worker says that they'll be back for another check-in in a couple of weeks. Willow has decided she will not be returning to school. For obvious reasons, I think she's just kind of going through things, and school will not help her at this time.
I feel like she also associates going to that new school with the bad things that happened to her.
Yes. Well, and the authorities understand why she doesn't want to go to school, so they kind of task Dell with like homeschooling her, but that never really happens.
She doesn't really need Dell to homeschool her.
No.
I mean, come on. If she got sent to Dell to begin with because she got a perfect score on this test that like no one had ever gotten a perfect score on, like, does she really need to be like homeschooled or schooled at all? Like,
yeah, no. Willow does take it upon herself to fix all of the appliances in the apartment because none of them have ever worked properly. She fixes the stove, she fixes the TV. And at first, Dell is kind of annoyed that she's like touching everything in his apartment. But once he sees that it's actually working the way it's supposed to, he's like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. And then Dell and Kwang Ha have a little bonding moment. They sit watching like really dumb stuff on TV.
What I find so funny about this interaction, though, is Willow is standing back, like, observing this interaction, and she doesn't understand it. She's like, they speak in, like, grunts and, like, yeah, huh, to each other, and she's like, I notice they really enjoy when the, like, it must be, like, a women's volleyball game is what I think it is. And she's like, they really seem to like when the women in bikinis are there or in bathing suits. I don't know. But I thought it was funny. It's like she's not understanding social cues. Like she has no clue why this would be interesting to either one of them because Dell is obviously, I think they say he's what, mid-30s?
Yeah,
maybe?
I would say mid-30s. And he's also overweight.
Yeah.
Like she makes it a point throughout the book to point out his lack of diet and exercise.
And then the brother, they never say, but he's a couple of years older than her. So I'd say 14, 15.
Yeah, somewhere
maybe
around there.
So like she has no clue why they would remotely be interested in watching this women's volleyball game. Like to her, it's the weirdest thing in the world. She does not get it. And I think that is really interesting to have her stand back and be like, what?
On page 234, it says Willow's point of view. There is a whole language to be learned here. This is an education.
She's not wrong though. She's observing humans and learning like how they react to things and like why they react to things. Well, she's not sure why, but she's trying to learn the world around her, which sometimes is more important to me than learning what's in the books around us. Even though obviously we're on a book podcast, I'm just saying sometimes learning what's in the world around you is more important than like studying every journal and every, so I think it's a big learning moment for her.
Yeah, it is. They continue with her counseling sessions. I say counseling in quotes, in air quotes right there, because it's also supposed to be kind of her homeschooling experience. But as we just discussed, she doesn't do that. Instead, one of the sessions, Dell asks Willow what he can do to make her life better, because he realizes Willow is not as vibrant as she once was. And at this point, it's been a couple of weeks and she's still not getting her like juju back, basically.
Right.
So she asks for sunflower seeds. Dell actually does his research because he wants to get this right, and he doesn't realize how many types and varieties of sunflowers there are. So he buys 1 packet of each sunflower seed, and that, for real, I don't cry. My eyes got watery. That was so sweet.
The fact that he put in this effort to like actually be interested in something she's interested in. Like he wants to do it right.
It was a very touching moment. And she, like, when he gives her the sunflower seeds, she realizes how much Dell actually cares about her in that moment. Like, I don't think she'd actually comprehended it before that.
And I don't know if Dell actually ever realized that he could care for somebody that much either.
Yeah, I think it's a shock for everybody. We're on chapter 41 now for those that are following along, if you have the book in front of you. We get another perspective of Gyro. He is at the college bookstore trying to get his textbooks, and he's in line and kind of fidgeting and being like, oh, wait, maybe I really shouldn't be here. I don't belong here. I don't know what I was thinking. And he's like backing out, and he gets in and out of line a couple of times. And the last time he decides to stay in line, and he gets up to the register, and an alarm goes off and a big old spinny ball is spinning from the ceiling. And he's like, what have I done? They're going to think I've stolen something.
Right.
And the cashier is giggling, and she's like, no, you're our millionth customer. And they give him this huge check, and they take his picture. And it was a good amount of money. I forget how much it was, but it was enough to cover all of his textbooks and his tuition for that first semester.
Yeah, it was and plus some. They say how much it was, I think, but I don't remember either.
So I'm trying to find it real quick. Oh, $20,000. So he was walking
like,
out.
Wait, $20,000 is going to cover your school? I wish.
Well, he goes on to say all that money would pay for all the college classes he ever wanted to take. And, of course, he attributes all of that to Willow, because she's the one who inadvertently pushed him to do that to begin with. Next chapter, we get Willow's point of view. She actually runs into Dell's new roommate down at the dumpster who was throwing away old computers that he had. She's like, why are you throwing them away? And he was like, they're old and outdated and they don't work. And she kind of makes a deal with him and was like, well, can I have him or can I have them? And he's just like, no, I don't think you should. What are you going to do with them? You're just a little girl, and like kind of insults her. But she takes them anyway, and she like vows to get them working. And they also, there's like this little patch of nothingness in this apartment complex. And Willow decides that's where she's going to plant the sunflowers.
I love this part.
You scared me a little bit.
Oh.
I think your hand hit the microphone. I was like, whoa.
I went to scratch my arm behind me, and I didn't hear it. So I'm like scratching the back of my arm. And you were like, huh? I'm like, what? And then oh, God.
Oh, it's okay. Everything's okay. So Dell decides that he's finally going to take a little bit of control of his life, and he's going to start running for exercise. It goes about as well as you can expect. He only lasts I think 3 minutes. He goes out and buys all this running gear. And he walks in the apartment and he's like, I'm going to start running.
I'm not making fun of Dell at all for any reason, because we are all Dell. I mean, some of y'all, you full on fitness. I don't want to say freaks, but you full on fitness people, and you in there. But how many times have you been like, I'm going to do something, and you dive all in, and then you're 2 weeks later, you're like, no, I'm not.
Well, but he shows up at the apartment. He's like, I'm going to start running. Tomorrow is my first day. And Kwang Ha and Mai and Willow just all kind of look at each other and they're like, really? And Willow says, "Are you training for something?" Dell says, "I'm going to be joining some teams in the spring and I want to be in shape." Kwang Ha starts giggling. Not laughing, but giggling. And Mai comes out and is like, "What's going on?" And that's when they all start like breaking down laughing. And Dell just kind of gets up and walks out. It's like a very
to be fair, like they've kind of like bonded super quickly, so they're looking at him like, "Come on, dude, we know you." Like,
yeah. But it's
be
just a
honest with
very
yourself.
like lighthearted human moment in the depths of despair that this book is.
I think that's what's great though, is these little things like this where, like you said, it is funny. Like, funny happens.
Yeah. Willow makes a point to say that he was only gone exactly 11 minutes. She looks at him and says, "How was it?" He's breathing very, very hard, and he holds up a hand like the international signal for stop.
I would absolutely be doing the same thing. I'd be like,
in the midst of all of this, Willow has also agreed to start helping Kwang Ha with his homework. She helps him write a few papers and study for science stuff. But he's accidentally gotten way too good at it, and they decided that Kwang Ha will be moved to the honors and AP program.
this is, to me, a prime example of sometimes it just takes the right teacher, or sometimes it just takes someone believing in you.
Yes. Willow also has another project up her sleeve. Not just planting the sunflowers in that kind of barren area, but she wants to get rid of like all the lava rocks at the complex, and she wants to make like this whole garden escape type thing. And very quickly Dell is like, "No, I just rent here. I don't own the building. This is way out of my league." So then Willow,
Like, you can't just do this. Like, you don't own it. Like,
yeah. So Willow was like, "Fine, I'll talk to the people who can." So she makes a whole 3-ring binder. She goes to the bank to like find out like the schematics of the building and what she can and can't do per city code.
like, who's the owner? Is there a building manager? Like, all of this. Like, it's impressive.
And keep in mind, she's 12. A 12-year-old is doing this.
I was not doing that at 12.
I was not.
I mean, was I taking myself to the library and checking out books? Yes. Was I getting them back on time? No.
Yeah.
Was I taking a taxi? Didn't even know how to. We didn't have them. Did not have them.
Yeah, Dothan didn't have those either. Let's see.
My town was way small.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, because the next few chapters are essentially them going through the process of she wants to make this project happen. Like, he actually does start running. She starts running with him, correct?
Well, all the kids try to run with him. Willow lasts the longest, I think.
With it.
Yeah. Well, Willow lasts the longest because I think that was like she was trying to find a new outlet for things.
She's trying all the things right now because the things that used to make her happy aren't bringing her joy. So she's doing the find your joy right now. Because, I mean, honestly, she's 12 and she's lost her parents and she's living in this really jacked up situation. So, I mean, I'd be also trying to find my joy. Or I wouldn't. I'd be in a dark corner. I don't know, but she's trying.
Yeah. Mai kind of has an existential crisis while she's shopping at the local market, just because I think she's coming to terms with everything is good for now, but Willow's eventually going to be placed somewhere else, and she doesn't want to lose Willow and the family dynamic that they have going on.
Because they do. They have gotten out of their garage. They have, like, he has dinner with them, even though he lives down the hallway. They're doing, the brother is doing better in school. Dell is losing weight. He's happier. He's cracking jokes. They're all spending time as like this unconventional family unit. And that's what these like whole chapters are that Bianca is kind of skipping over. And I agree with skipping over them and getting to the next stuff. But that's like what all of this is. It's like this whole dynamic being built, like all the little fun things that they're doing, all of them finding their joy. Really, if you think about it, all of them are kind of changing things about them.
Yeah, and Mai just kind of has a breakdown at the market of trying to come to terms with everything. The next chapter, we're back at Willow's perspective. I can't remember if she posts it to the internet or what, but someone posts that all the lava rocks at the complex are free. So people come and get them and they're cleaned out like by the next day.
Yeah, one of them has the idea of like, well, we got to get them out of here, but like this is way more work than we thought it was going to be. So you know what? We'll just tell people they can come take them. And they're like people like begging, like hold them for us.
Yeah.
Which is a real thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to get rid of like pavers or lava rock or something. People will like beat down your door for them.
They will. Once all the lava rocks are gone, though, they discover that the dirt underneath the rocks was not very usable. They all kind of get discouraged. And a big windstorm comes up during the night. And when they wake up, dirt and like clay has just like covered the entire building. So now the building actually looks worse than when they started.
Because everything that was under those lava rocks is just everywhere.
Yes. So they decide to rent a power sprayer, and they spend like a whole weekend power spraying the entire building.
Oh my God, we did that this weekend. It does take forever.
Well, and it's so loud. They even do it into the night. All of the neighbors are complaining. But with the power sprayer, they also get all of the old stucco off the building that kind of aged the building. Mm-hmm. So by the time they get done with power spraying, the building looks brand spanking new and looks amazing. Even Gyro, the taxi driver, comes to help. Willow had enlisted his help. And Patty is secretly happy because now she can meet the strange man who's been driving Willow everywhere.
You know what's interesting about this to me is bad things happen, right? And then some good things happen. And then bad things happen. And then some good things. Like, it goes back and forth. It's like an ebb and flow. But I guess realistically, that's kind of life. Even if it's not like the worst of the worst that's happening to these poor people. But like, or Willow. Willow's really the one getting the worst of the worst. But it's like this ebb and flow of good, bad, good, bad.
Yeah. At one point, Dell spots Cheddar, the cat, and tries to like finagle him because he realizes that he kind of kidnapped this cat and then kind of left him on his own because they never really found him.
The cat this whole time, like he comes back, you're like, oh yeah, there was a cat. Like, when they started talking about him again, I was like, oh yeah, that cat. Like, oops.
Well, Dell takes the cat in, although the cat kind of bonds with Willow and it kind of becomes Willow's cat. And I forget how, but the dude that Willow had said he can have the backyard garden at her old house. Mm-hmm. I forget how he got word. But he heard about Willow building this new garden at the apartment complex. So he comes and donates like 50 million plants. He has an electrician friend. An electrician friend comes and builds these fancy lights to light up the garden. And it's all for free. Like, they refuse to take payment for anything.
So I don't remember how they all found out either. The only thing I can think of is they never say how big this town is. But I'm assuming it's probably not a big town, but not tiny either, right? And I'm sure word would get around about this 12-year-old who came into the bank by herself. And then, like you said, didn't they take up a collection for her? Like, there were people.
Yeah, they did a college fund for her.
Yeah, so they did kind of like a GoFundMe sort of deal. They never say GoFundMe. And, of course, she wrote this in 2013. So, but still, I think there's just people keeping up with her. Because maybe that's the point of the story, is there are all these people that she kind of has touched their lives the whole time. And she's had no clue. I mean, really, like the gardener guy just showing back up. So to me, that tells me that there's a backstory of before the book. there's people that she's always just been a bright spot for them.
Yeah. But once all the lighting is done and they actually like take in the garden and they realize like all this hard work actually amounted to something, and Willow is very proud of herself. However, like at the same time the garden is being unveiled, Patty receives a letter. The new court date is set, and then Lenore comes and says that Willow will be placed in a group foster home the very next day.
Which to me, I was like, okay, I understand how the system works. And they actually got extremely lucky with already having the situation that they do. But I wanted to look at this social worker and be like, how is tossing her in a group home better than what she's in right now? Like, please make it make sense.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if you know anything about the system, that's how things happen a lot of times.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It's unfortunate.
So Willow asks to go to the library. I think Gyro takes her to the library again. Dell finds her there, and they both just kind of start crying. It's a very sad moment.
It is.
The next couple of chapters are basically just all of the characters coming to terms with Willow leaving.
Willow even kind of comes to terms with it. She's not okay with it. None of them are okay with it. But they've all kind of come to terms with, like, this is what's happening.
Yeah. Even the cat kind of knows. It's very sad. Like, the cat's just kind of forlorn.
Animals know.
Willow is waiting to see the judge at the courthouse the next day. They're just kind of waiting around, and then Lenore, the caseworker, comes up to her and is like, hey, we've had a slight change of plans. Follow me. Mai goes and checks out Kwang Ha from school because they want to go to the court and be with Willow, so they're making their way to the courtroom.
I was very suspicious of that social worker.
Yeah, she kind of gives off bad vibes.
Yeah, no offense to anyone that's a social worker. My mother was a social worker. I know lots of people. I couldn't do it myself. I can't imagine. But the way this one was written, she gave me like gross. Like she made me, I was like, I don't trust you. You lying.
Which, to be fair, this is the one that Willow had lied to about the bathroom and ran away on. Like she'd kind of been sort of a troublemaker for her.
Yeah.
But still, she still gives off a vibe.
Yeah.
So Willow's in court waiting to see the judge. Lenore comes up and says, hey, something's happened. Follow me. And Willow walks into like this group of people standing in a room. And then she realizes that Dell is there in a suit. It's a tight-fitting suit, but he's in a suit.
I love that they bring that up. Like, it's not as tight as it once was, but it's still tight, and he's trying his best.
Next to him on one side is Kwang Ha. On the other is Patty. At Patty's elbow is Gyro. He's also wearing a suit, and he looks very nice. So nice that Willow almost doesn't recognize him. And in front, holding a big bunch of tulips, is Mai, and they're all smiling. Let's see. The judge says, I'm Judge Biederman, and I think you know these people. There has been a formal request made today to the court for your guardianship in a motion filed by Mr. Gyro Hernandez and Miss Dung Nguyen. And then Patty interrupts and says, no, it's Patty. I'm Patty.
Oh, shit. She's there's several times throughout the story where she is emphatic that it is Patty.
Yes. And the judge corrects himself and he says, Mr. Hernandez and Miss Patty Nguyen are seeking this custody agreement as partners.
My jaw hit the floor.
Willow says, I don't hear anything after that. I don't need to. I know that Lenore comes into the room. At some point, she has her arm around me. I'm not sure if I'm laughing or crying. I hear Mai's voice, It's going to be all right now. Don't cry, Willow. I answer in Vietnamese, and then it actually types out the Vietnamese phrase, but that actually means it's more than all right. We found out that Patty and Gyro have actually been kind of dating in the midst of all of this.
Which I loved. I don't know. Please tell me you didn't see it coming.
I did not see it coming. No. It came out of left field.
I think at one point they say that because she agrees because she wants to take the taxi again, right? And so Patty gives him her number and says, like, you're supposed to call me when you get her there. And Willow even says to him when he gets out of the car, he's like, she's expecting me to call. And she goes, you should, or something like that. Like, you don't need to, you don't have to, but you should, or something like that. So that, I was like, oh, that's why they made sure, the author made sure to tell you, which it's a middle grade book. No offense to middle schoolers. I love you guys, but like, were they going to pick up on that? But that's what it was. She was like, all right, Willow is like emphatically letting me know she wants to take the taxi and you were her friend. So here's the deal. Like the whole I see you where you do the back and forth fingers.
Yeah.
Gave her his number, or Patty gave him her number then so he could always tell her when she had made it. And I guess they bonded over their love and care for Willow, basically. And that's that.
Well, and we also find out that Patty is rich. Like, she's been hoarding away money her entire life.
Yes. And it goes back to the story that they briefly tell you about, one, why she insists her name is Patty, and two, where she came from and how she grew up, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it literally is like 3 paragraphs they tell you about this.
Yeah, I actually don't remember much. I just remember.
It's like, seriously, like 3 paragraphs in the morning, they're telling you who Patty is, where she came from, like that she grew up poor, and she was never gonna like have that. So she's like stupid rich.
Yes. So rich that Patty decides she's going to buy that apartment building. The whole building.
Yeah. Not like, oh, I'm just going to buy my condo, my apartment. Nope. The whole friggin' thing.
Yep. She puts in a formal offer to the bank. Willow kind of gets back her counting to sevens part of her. She realizes that all of this has happened in the 7th month. And then I'm just going to read this small part real quick.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. 7 is a natural number. It's a prime number. There are 7 basic types of catastrophes and 7 days of the week. Isaac Newton identified the 7 colors of the rainbow. Dell puts people into 7 categories now. He has misfit, oddball, lone wolf, weirdo, genius, dictator, that comes from Patty, and mutant. I don't remember who the mutant was. I just remember he put Patty in the dictator category.
I don't remember mutant either, but the dictator cracked me up.
And I have my own system of order. I think that every stage of living, there are 7 people who matter in your world. For me, I count my mom always, my dad forever, Mai, Dell, Kwang Ha, Patty, and Gyro. I decide that when my head begins to pound from now on, I'll shut my eyes and count 2 sevens instead of by 7s. I see each of these people like the colors of the rainbow. They are vivid and distinct, and they hold a permanent place in my heart.
That's just,
It's so sweet.
Yes.
Don't cry,
I
Miranda.
did. I'm not. I did give this book 4 stars because I feel like it told a wonderful story. It did drag it sometimes. I really connected with the character. As obviously we've talked about this entire episode, a mother of an autistic child, I saw some things. Again, all the autistics are different, but I saw small things from him in her and other characters. And I like that it was found family and it went like really sweet in the end. Oh, like you can go online on Goodreads specifically and read some of the horrific reviews. I think those people just didn't get it.
Yeah, as if you rate this book that low, something did not click in your brain.
Well, like I said, a lot of people are saying they're tired of the genius left orphan story. Some people are like, she's a Mary Sue. And I'm like, do you even understand what the definition of a Mary Sue is?
No.
Okay. What's the best way to describe?
No. I'm saying I do. I'm answering for those people. Yeah. Sorry, my sarcasm didn't come through there.
No, I was like, I usually know your sarcasm, but I thought you meant no, as in like, no, I don't know. For those that don't know, it's a female character who's usually depicted, words are hard, depicted as like unrealistic, kind of lacking in flaws or weaknesses. And if you followed along with us here, even if you didn't read the book, you'll see there are flaws. Like, she does not understand a few things, like, which is not, it's what makes her her. I don't want to necessarily say that's a flaw, but like that she has flaws. Everybody in this book has flaws that have nothing to do with being neurodivergent. like, so to call her a Mary Sue, I thought was just someone. The other thing is, I think some of these people read it and they're our age, right? Or older. And they're reviewing it like it's this like adult novel.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind, this is grade school. This is
a middle grade book that comes with a workbook for children too.
Yeah. Like, if I had to recommend this book for a specific age category, like, even as an adult, I enjoyed it, but you can tell it's written for like 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
Absolutely. What I found was interesting as well is when you're on Goodreads, if your friends have read it and reviewed it, it will show you what their star ratings are. I am not going to call anyone by name other than you because you said what yours is and you're my friend on there. But I have two other friends that have read it as well. And I find it interesting that my one friend, she is actually on the spectrum. She rated it 5 stars. And then another friend that I vaguely kind of know from a book club, she does not like mid-grade. She is not on the spectrum. She gave it 2 stars.
Well, dang.
I found it interesting, the differences in like the rating system of some people. Now, I went to read like reviews and neither one of them gave it like an actual like written review. They just gave it a star rating, which I'm also guilty of doing over there. Unless I'm asked to review a book, I only give like a star rating most of the time. I just found it interesting that the person I know is on the spectrum actually like thoroughly enjoyed it, and the one that is not was like,
Yeah.
Again, well, I guess if you don't usually like mid-grade books, maybe you would find some writing flaws with it. I think it was well written. I enjoyed the story. I don't know. You gave it 4 stars. What is your opinion?
I loved it. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is because, like we said, there are some times where it just kind of drags a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't give it a full 5. But it was very engaging. Mm-hmm. The author really puts you in these emotions. It puts you in the moment of, this is what the characters are feeling. I'm going to make you feel it too.
Right.
There was a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Mm-hmm. And while my experiences with autistic people are limited, I would say, I think it was a very good description of how people with autism live and interact with others.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it's for the better that she never comes right and says Willow is autistic.
Yeah, because, because that might be a little bit like pigeonholing yourself. Mm-hmm. People may
But
think, oh, this is
you
just
did-
for people with autism. It's not for people that don't have autism.
Now, when you did research on finding books with autistic characters, this actually is one that came up. So it is highly recommended as a book with an autistic character. It's not like we just decided that Willow is autistic and we were reading it for Autism Acceptance Month. It was actually one that is like when you go and you are looking specifically for books with autistic characters, it is recommended by multiple sources. So.
Yeah, it was this one and The Maid.
Which I did want to read, but you had already read it, so I wanted to like not make that our main.
Yeah.
And then also the conglomeration of the reviews that irritated me and the synopsis of this book. I was like, again, I was frantic. Like, we're reading this one.
Yeah.
And there were a couple others you recommended. Do you have the list that if people are interested besides The Maid?
Yes, I just remember The Maid. There was another children's book.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. I'd have to go back way back in our text.
Yeah. I'm looking. I was going to see if I could find it quickly because it's a list, so it'd be easy to locate.
Yeah. Well, while you look, I'll go ahead and start our final segment of recent reads and acquisitions. So feel free to interject whenever you find it, Miranda. I'll do mine first.
Mm-hmm.
The exclusive collector's edition of It Ends With Us came out, and I just had to get it. Yes. It is so pretty, you guys. It's a hardback. It's a hardback. It's got kind of the same cover.
But you're a hardback girly. Like, that's your favorite.
Yeah. It's got kind of the same cover. It's a little bit, they switched it up a little bit, and then the inlays on the inside are different, and they're very, very, very pretty. And it's a hardcover, so I just like, yep, that's mine. And then I got a couple of books from the library that I'm going to read. First Life by Gina Showalter. It's a YA book. Tinley Lockwood is an average 17-year-old girl who has spent the past 13 months locked inside the Print Asylum. The reason,
is a YA?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was just asking because I think you already know this. Gina Showalter is queen of the Bianca No-Nos.
Yes, this is one of her YA books.
Okay, I was like, you said her name. I was like, wait just a second. I tried to be a good friend and warn you. Like, this
cute. I appreciate it. No, I found this one actually because of our last episode. You had mentioned Gina Showalter, and I looked at her books, and I was like, wait, she writes a YA book. And I've always wanted to read it.
Her now. Thanks, ADHD.
But the reason she's locked up in the asylum, it's her refusal to let her parents choose where she'll live after she dies. First life is a dress rehearsal, and real life begins after death.
Cool. Oh, I know why. She wrote Alice in Zombieland, and I think I made it a point to tell everybody when we reviewed Alice in Zombieland that she normally is. She does write YA, but she's also no land.
And then
I did find the list though.
Okay.
So Bianca did some research, and these were her recommendations for anybody else that wants to look them up. It was The Curious Incident of the Dog in Nighttime, Mockingbird, Marcello in the Real World, Eleanor Oliphant, of course, our book that we ended up choosing, Counting by Sevens, and as Bianca already mentioned, The Maid, which I don't remember what episode you covered that in, but Bianca actually did do like a quick, spoilery-free review of The Maid in a prior episode.
Yes, I loved The Maid. But my final recent read and acquisition was Carrie Soto is Back. I'm going to try to read it this summer and be prepared since it got optioned so I can have opinions while watching it.
I bought Daisy Jones with the intention of, like, I bought it like a couple of weeks before it came out with the intention of trying to get it done. It didn't happen. Didn't happen.
I'll say read it before you watch it.
Oh, I still am going to do that. I just struggle sometimes if I like tell myself you have to read this book, like, oh, you got to get it done by this time.
Like, for some reason, my brain goes, no, I'm not. I don't know what it is, but it goes, no, we not. It's like, if somebody tells me what I'm going to do, I'm like, watch me not. I can't help it. I've been that way since I was a child. I don't know why. I'm just that person.
Well, do you have any recent reads or acquisitions you want to mention?
I do have a couple. I've been trying really hard not to buy any books. I've not succeeded a couple of times. But I've genuinely been trying. You'd be really proud of me. Audible had a huge sale the other day, like a huge sale. And I started going add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. And then I got done and it said my cart total was $127. And when I was like, better not. Now, mind you, it was $127 for like a lot of books. They was like, some of them were $2.99, some were $4.99, some were $6.99. But I was like, better not. And then I was like, let me think about it. And then ADHD saved the day because I forgot about the sale and it ended. I did not buy any of those books.
I'm very proud of you.
I know. I'm trying really hard. I did read another Geneva Rose.
Okay.
I don't think I talked about it last time. I don't remember if I had finished it yet or not. But a couple episodes ago for February, you and I decided to read Perfect Marriage because we had been following Geneva Rose on TikTok for a while, and she was very intriguing. So we chose Perfect Marriage for the month of February. We were very critical of the book. I think we both gave it like 3.5. We just can't do halves on Goodreads. I think we were both at 3.5, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Maybe I was 3. I remember I was slightly lower than you.
Yeah, but we were a little critical for good reason. But I was still very interested in reading her other books. And I decided to do One of Us is Dead. It's like The Real Housewives, but a murder mystery. And I'm not a fan of like Real Housewives or anything, but it's like the best way to describe it. It actually takes place in Georgia in like the Buckhead area.
Okay.
Like, you know, the rich people.
Yeah.
Like really rich people. It takes place like there. So it actually seemed extremely realistic to me. And what I liked about it is, you know, normally when I read a murder mystery, and I think you're the same, you've usually figured out the who. Maybe not the why or the how, but you're like me and you can usually go, I bet it was so-and-so.
Yeah.
Could not figure out who it was this time. I was wrong.
Huh.
It is, but it's the one I think I texted you and said, this is a no-no.
Yes.
It's a no-no. It had more than the other book we read.
Oh, okay.
And like, not, it's like multiple people. It's like different people talking about it.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like it would make you uncomfortable. I was like, no.
Yeah.
But I think Geneva Rose did a better job with this one. So I think she's still an author. After 2 of her books, I'm going with, she's on my list of authors I will probably continue to buy their book.
Okay.
Kept me interested. Like, I was like in it. I was in this tea. There was lots of tea spilling and drama, and it was fake characters, and I wasn't related to any of it. And I think that's why I was in it so hard.
Yeah.
I also read for book club, Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. And I texted you about this, and I confused you to no end. Because I asked you a question to which you treated me like a crazy person. My question to Bianca that I will propose to all of you as well. Have you ever simultaneously liked and disliked a book you were reading? Bianca's answer was like, in text message, but I could hear her out loud giving me the side eye going, no. That's where I am with this book. I finished it. I enjoyed it. But I also didn't. I think the author is a great author. I'd never read anything by her. It's by Axie O. She has a couple other books under her belt. I just unfortunately have never heard about her. I did read the synopsis to some of her other works, and I think I would like to give her another go as an author. But there were parts where I was confused, and in those moments, I didn't like the book. And then there were parts that I thought were over-explained and parts I thought were under-explained. But the overall story, I enjoyed. And the main character, I enjoyed. Because she wasn't one of those like, oh, woe is me, like, you know, main characters that typically happens in something like this. I wouldn't call it a romance, but there is like a romance story in it. It's also kind of mythology. So in the end, I enjoyed it, and I think I gave it 4 stars.
It does have an average of 4-star rating, so.
Yeah, it's got a 4.15. It was nominated for the Best Young Adult Fantasy and Science Fiction of 2022 on Goodreads Choice Awards. I don't think it won it, but I think it was just nominated. Because if it wins, it tells you, like, winner of, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the winner for that one was Gallant.
Yes!
Yeah. So it was up against that, so I get it.
Gallant was so good.
Yeah. So in the end, I enjoyed it, but there were parts where I was like, I don't like this. But I guess if you love retellings, mythology, it is an Asian mythology telling. There's deadly storms that have ravaged Mina's homeland for like generations, for like ever. And floods usually sweep away villages. There's bloody wars waged over like the remaining resources that aren't swept away. And her people believe that the sea god, who was once their protector, now curses them with death and despair. So in an attempt to appease him, each year a beautiful maiden is thrown into the sea to serve as the sea god's bride, in the hopes that one day the true bride will be chosen and kind of like end the suffering. And it opens up with like the village has chosen Shem. She's the most beautiful girl in the village at the time, and sorry, my brain just forgot words. Shem is the most beautiful girl in the village, and she's very beloved by Mina's older brother. But they feel like Shem is the true bride. But on the night that she's to be sacrificed, her brother follows her to the sea, even knowing that to interfere it's going to be death. But to save her brother, Mina throws herself in the water, and she ends up being swept into the spirit realm because she's not supposed to be the bride. And she gets in this magical city, which is I loved. I loved this city. I loved how it was described. I loved this whole spirit realm. It's full of like lesser gods and mythical beasts. And Mina is trying to seek out the sea god, and she basically gets caught. She kind of like gets caught as like, you're not real, or like there's people that want to get to the sea god, and she realizes the sea god's not accepting a wife because he's in this enchanted sleep, and he has been. So with the help of this mysterious young man named Shen, and this like motley crew that is really funny, and I did enjoy, of like demons, gods, and spirits, she sets out to wake the sea god and bring an end to the killer storms once and for all. Like she's decided, nope, I'm going to be his bride. She doesn't have a whole lot of time. She can only be in the spirit realm for, I think it's a month before things can happen. And there are those that would do everything they can to keep the sea god from waking up and like get in her way, and they do. And that's where some of the confusion comes in, because it's like this god doesn't like this one, and I got like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know. It's not terrible though. It's only 325 pages. It just came out in 2022, so it's not an old. It's not old. Well written, but again, I both liked and disliked this book. I'm sorry, but I did. The cover is gorgeous, though. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I have one more that I don't know how I came across it. Technically, I haven't finished it. It's called The House Witch. And I'm just going to have to send you this name because it's one name. The author is just Delemhach. I don't even know how to say that. Delemhach.
Wait, who? What? Huh? I don't think I'm looking at the right book.
It's called The House Witch, and there's a ton of titles called The House Witch. So.
Oh, okay. Can you spell it for me one more time?
Yeah, Delemhach. They're Canadian. They don't have a photo up on Goodreads. But yeah, I don't know how you say that. I apologize, ma'am or sir. But
is it like I'm asking this in all seriousness since it's called The House Witch. Is it done by like a coven? Is the coven name whatever that is?
No, it's a fictional book.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a fictional story. It is like fantasy meets romance meets cozy mystery meets witches and magic. And it's adult. It's an adult book. I think I'd classify it, you know that thing that you and I have started saying, new adult?
Yeah.
I think I'd classify it there. I am about 60% in, and I am in love with everyone and everything about the book. If you, I've brought her up before, but if you follow Meg's Tea Room on TikTok or Instagram, she talks a lot about cozy comfort reads. This would be there. I'm not even finished with it, but it's a Finlay Ashwan. He joins the staff of the king and queen of this country, Draxia. He's kind of stuck up, and he has like very strict rules of like what's going to go in his kitchen, what will be allowed in kitchen, what won't be. No one knows where he comes from or how he came there. Every time they bring up like trying to get more information out of him, he like skirts around. He's like Willow. He doesn't lie, but he doesn't tell the truth. He's just satisfied just being the royal cook, keeping like nosy people out of the kitchen. He does some uncanny, weird meals, but he's like slowly loved because his ability is just apparently like not being funny, but like chef's kiss. Like he's apparently like fantastic at what he does. But you can tell he's slowly falling for a noble woman, and she's slowly following for him. At one point, the king thinks maybe he's a spy. He's absolutely not. And he ends up having to tell the king, listen, please don't tell anybody. I'm not a spy. I'm not here to cause problem. I'm a house witch. And I have a cat. I know I'm not supposed to have pets, but this is not familiar. And his powers slowly, kind of gradually be discovered like throughout the court, and he ends up finding himself involved in like a bunch of different like intrigue, kind of going battling head to toe like with wits, not like fists, with knights. He ends up like being very protective and helpful of the queen who's pregnant. There's a difference in mages and witches in this book, and the mage is like suspicious of him but knows he's a witch. He hates mages. It's all around. If you like fantasy, so far there's not any no stuff. So it's just cozy, and I'm loving it. And it's even been shelved by some pretty well-known authors. Like, I don't know, are you familiar with Charlie Holmberg?
No, I'm not.
She writes a fantastic series that I've not ever mentioned here, but it's like one of my favorite, called The Paper Magician. But she actually rated this book 5 stars. And I was like, what? It is. It's adorable. I highly recommend, and I'm not even finished it. I will probably like circle back and just like let you guys know if I finished it and liked it. There are 3 books already. I think book number 3 either just came out so book number 3 just came out in February. So I say go for it.
Well, like Miranda said, you can now join us on Goodreads. We do have a group. It's called Bells with Books Podcast. I will try to, it's under my name, so I'm in charge of it. I take full responsibility for it. I will try to keep up with what we are reading and posting in there so that you can see and read ahead of time. That way you can be prepared for listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
You can also follow myself and Miranda on Goodreads, see what we're up to, become our friends. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm at Stylin' Freak. Please follow us on Instagram there as well, the Bells with Books podcast. I think that's what our page is called.
I believe so. Yeah.
Or is it Bells with Books pod? Hold on.
It may be you'll find us. You'll find us.
Yeah. It was Bells with Books podcast.
Yeah, if you start typing in Bells with Books, like you're gonna find us. Like.
And then Miranda also did a really cool thing and is starting to put our episodes on YouTube. So you can start listening on YouTube.
So essentially what it is, basically it's what you hear right now, but in video form. The only thing is right now, while we're testing the waters, it's all of our back catalog. There's been a lot of research shown that a lot of people listen to YouTubes, not watch. So it is basically like a really cool graphic with what our back catalog. We toyed with the idea that we'll see how this goes. Maybe we'll show our faces at some point. Oh no. But I liked the idea and I wanted to give this a go. So right now, episode number 1 is up. Episode number 2 should be up soon. The conversion actually takes me a little bit of time. So if you could go follow us, please, on YouTube, even if that's not where you're going to listen to us, I really would appreciate if you could do that. Views are important. If we get 1,000 followers, YouTube gives us money and we can buy more books. In full transparency, we are totally buying books with it. But then we'll talk about them on here, which means it's for the podcast.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm going to try that out. I hope you see us there. I did just do a real quick test. If you're on Goodreads, you just go to community and groups, and then you can search us by name. And I guess, we don't do Patreon or anything like that. So I guess this is a way to shout out people for following us. So thank you to Sarah, Ellen, Rachel, Nicolette, Emily, and Josh for joining our Bells with Books podcast community on Goodreads. We appreciate you.
And then where else can we follow you and the rest of the Place to Be Nation peeps?
Yeah, so definitely check out placetobenation.com. Check out all the lovely articles, more to come, something for everyone. It also links you to our podcast and many others in the Place to Be Nation world. We do as well have a Facebook group that has lots of things going on in it all the time from all spectrums of the Place to Be Nation pop. Right now we're actually finishing up a breakfast tournament, we're pitting breakfast foods against each other to decide what's the best. It's entertaining, to say the least. It's interesting. Didn't know people had such strong opinions about breakfast products, but here we are. I am comfortably allowing people to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Mom's a Nerd. Of course, I am in that Facebook group and our obviously new Goodreads group. So come join us there. Check out the YouTube. So many options. And also, if you could do a really fun, nice thing and review us wherever you listen to us, that'd be fantastic. So, anything else that you would like to share with the boys and girls, Bianca?
It is finally getting warm in Florida and it feels amazing. And I just want everyone to know that I'm super happy with the weather.
It was 60 degrees here today and yesterday, so it was nice.
Same here. It's been so nice.
Yeah. But what does it say about me that yesterday it was 55 and I was like, I'm burning up?
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Yeah, we would love you to come join us next time. And of course, as always, without question, keep reading.